Let's get ready to RPG!
RPG! RPG! RPG! RPG! RPG!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Knights of Last Call. My name is Derek Melinda, and tonight we bring you our inaugural 2025 Golden Knight Awards. As many of you know, for the last several years, we have done a Golden Mug Award, which we do in the March Madness, but it's a totally just a popularity contest, and the same things win every year. So what I decided to do this year, because we covered so many games, we covered so many systems, we covered so many products, is I decided to get together with the patrons, have them help me kind of create a list of nominees along with my own, thoughts and my own feedback. And we are going to put together a award show where we're going to cover several categories. I think there's about 15 categories in general. We're going to talk about the games in brief, and I am going to be awarding Golden Knights, the Knighty Awards, officially Golden Knight, but you can call it the Knighty, to the games that I basically that I thought deserved the win. Now, there's a couple of caveats that I want to get into here. Golden Mug. What did I call it? I thought I called it the Golden Mug, but anyways. Couple of caveats here. So number one is, I apologize that I'm not wearing a suit or anything like that. Unfortunately, most of my suits fit me when I was about 200 to 210 pounds. And then when I got fat again, I was like, I'm not buying a new suit. I'm going to get back down to 210 pounds. Well, I haven't yet. So maybe next year. But, got to rock the merch. So a couple of caveats for tonight, and I really want to highlight this before we get any further. Number one, ultimately, this is based off of my subjective experience. I am one person, and while the patrons did help me put together a list of nominations, ultimately the decision rests solely with me. Even the Ennies, which many people consider to be a popularity contest. We're starting off with a huge tip from Klopster.
Roll tipped $100. At the start of the year, I did not think I would play either Dagger Hut or Draw Steel. Thanks to the Knights, I have been playing a surprising amount of both. And other games as well. Shout out to Jakal on the DS front.
Klopster, well, thank you. Thank you, Klopster. Roll. You know what? You get another one for that.
Strong!
Klopster, thank you so much for the very generous tip. That is extremely grateful. I'm really extremely grateful for that. But more so than that, Klopster, I think you really, I'm actually really excited by what you said, simply because I kind of wanted to get to the point. You kind of made it already for me, which is what's really great about these games isn't that I'm reviewing them or that I'm talking about them. What's great about these games is they are introducing people to new games. They are being played by members of the Knights of Last Call community, and people are actually getting and experiencing these games. That to me is awesome. If all we did was talk about games and we never played them, it would be extremely disappointing to me. And so to hear someone like you not only appreciate that, again, a year ago, you never thought that you would be playing these games. And now you're playing a bunch of new games. You're playing them on the regular. You're playing them with your fellow patron members, your fellow Knights. Shout out to Jackal, who is a huge Draw Steel enthusiast. I think that's at the heart of what it is that, I'm trying to do here with this community. The reason we talk about so many of these games isn't so that we can just put them in our back pocket. We are doing them so that you can be experienced and you can experience a new game. And I think that's really, really awesome. And thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. That being said, thank you, Klopster. These are even the. I tried to get to the point here. Thaddeus, thank you.
Thaddeus tipped $50. No heartfelt message, just money. To another year of games on the Discord.
Well, thank you, Thaddeus. I really appreciate that. And there's our tip, which is future second looks on some of the winners. So a lot of these games that we talk about came about and got discussed on this channel because of our First Looks series. And a lot of people say, what about a second look? And luckily, we've had the opportunity, as aforementioned, that people have come and played these games because we covered them as a first look. So what I'd like to do with some of our games that maybe win is get some of the folks from the Patreon who have been running these games, experienced with these games, have gotten 5, 10, 15 reps with the games. There's even games that I have gotten to play, and get them on the show and discuss them. And obviously, Derek, I think I have a pretty a good vibe or read on a lot of RPGs, but the truth of the matter is a lot of these experiences are first looks. They're not reviews. I haven't had the opportunity to play them. No one had. Well, now we have had people get the chance to play them, and so I really want to go back and do that. So Thaddeus, thank you for no sweet message, but money. But that is a tip goal complete, so I really, really appreciate you on that one. Obviously, too, I'm getting a chance to play some new games this because of this channel as well with my friends and patron members. So, obviously, hopefully, I have something to add and contribute as well too. Right. I am the highest paid non-OnlyFans streamer in the world right now. That's fantastic. So, even the Ennies, which are considered to be mostly a popularity contest, which they are. Theoretically, they go through an initial vetting process where people submit them, and then a committee culls through them and makes a decision based off of industry experience and the like. So this, however, is basically almost entirely based off of my subjective whims. So that is the first thing I really want to highlight here. I think all of these games all have something that's special about them. It's one of the reasons they got covered on this channel, whether it's because we had a community of people who were really interested in them, or maybe just a single patron member who is just extremely hyped about the game and they wanted to talk about it. So to that end, I say find your game. It's just like finding a spouse or finding a boyfriend or girlfriend or a partner. Not everyone is for everyone, but there's someone for you. Unless you're me, in which case there's no one for you, both gaming and in relationships. But I want to just highlight that my opinions are not necessarily, they may not be your opinions, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. Secondly, there is no, incentive. There's no actual prize or anything like that. This is just for fun and just for us to kind of look back at the games that we have discussed. So I think that's going to be a really, really cool part of the game as well. Or part of the award ceremony. It's just a retrospective and a look back, because I do want to highlight that, this year we covered, I think about 40, I want to say it's 42, 8 times, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. 42 of our, 42 products, 42 games. And I think that's an incredible amount. That's almost one a week. And we have really, really, I think, me losing my job has given me the ability to spend a lot more time on these. And I really want to appreciate that. And Scotty F, wow, coming in with a massive $100 donation. Super chat bar, looked lonely, supporting the 90s. Scotty F, you have been an incredible supporter, as so many of you folks have. And that's something I really want to highlight as well. Scott, thank you so much for that. Because we all know about this. PDFs have gotten pretty expensive. Knights of Last Call doesn't really do a lot of what we'll call marketing or promotional outreach. So a lot of these things get paid for out of my pocket, and that's where folks like Scotty and Thaddeus and Klopster and all of you who are members of the Knights of Last Call Patreon, or maybe you just support me here with the occasional super chat or tip, are so important, because I need to buy these things and then also hopefully make some money on top of it, so that I can, keep doing this as a kind of a job. So your financial support means that we can keep buying these PDFs and we can keep doing this. Now, luckily, not through any actions of my own, mostly because Bob likes free stuff. There are a couple of companies that we have sort of developed a relationship with, and we do get some stuff from them, and that's been really, really cool and awesome. But honestly, most of the time, it's because they reach out to us. They say, we love what you do. We love what you talk about. We love that you don't just give our game a 5-minute once over. You talked about it for 5.5 hours, for God's sakes. You times 100 the amount of content that our game has had on the internet, on YouTube. So I think that's really awesome, and I really appreciate that those people are appreciating us. So lastly, before we get into it, this is a little bit confusing. These categories cover games that we covered talked about, hyped up, or played in 2025. Some of these games came out in 2023 or 2024. Some of these games came out a decade ago. But this is when we talked about. We talked about them on the Knights of the Last Call in 2025. For some people, this may have been the first time that they had ever seen them. For other people, they may have been playing them for years. So while a good chunk of the games that we did cover were new, some of them are old. So we do have a category for best new game, which will specifically be, to games that functionally fully released in 2025. But for the most part, the games cover what we covered, or the gamut covers what we covered as well. Kyle, I cannot speak to buffering, but I can say that from my end, I am not dropping any frames. So my connection to YouTube looks solid. Junderlin, keep the donations coming so we can keep interrupting Derek and his takes all night. Love you, Derek. Well, thank you, Junderlin. I appreciate that. And thank you for the interruption. We were on a nice little roll there of keeping me interrupted. We don't want to take this. We don't want this to take too long. So, but Junderlin, I appreciate you. So without further ado, let us go ahead and get started. And again, I want to thank, we're 5 minutes into this. Oh no, everyone's buffering. It doesn't look like it's me. Let me check my, activity. No, my stream health is excellent. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's just a gateway thing here. You know what I'll say? If you're really having a problem with that, you could always head over to twitch.tv/Knights of Last Call. We're over there as well, and you might be able to get a better connection there. So thank you. By the way, a couple things. Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Sinric, for the Prime subs. Thank you, Adamo, as well, for the Prime sub. Again, if you don't want to go ahead and drop, a big tip or super chat, like some of these fine folks, you can always head over to Prime and give us a sub that way. Aaron, thank you so much. Oh, that's very nice of you.
Aaron has tipped $50. Thanks for an awesome 2025. Can't wait to see what you got cooking for 2026. Can't wait to see everyone at Origins this year.
Aaron, thank you so much. And Aaron, again, thank you so much for working with us and getting the dice together. Obviously, we didn't get Daggerheart to the actual play to the channel this year, but I am looking forward, hopefully 2026, when we get our people to get these things out on the real table. And I am also incredibly hyped for Origins as well. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for the dice. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it's incredible. That's right. Yet. There are some things at work. Some people have some more time, perhaps, in 2026. Their priorities have shifted, or maybe their lives aren't quite as on fire. So I'm really hoping that we will get to Daggerheart to the table. All right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Thaddeus. Thank you, Klobster. Thank you, Scotty F. Thank you, Junderlin, for crushing our goals before we even got started. Y'all are the real MVPs. All right. Let me get my game. Let me get my thing up here. Okay. All right. So this is going to be the Golden Knights. Welcome everybody to the Golden Knights. Whoa. So these are the 42. These are the 42 games or game products or whatever items, RPG related items that we covered this year. That we basically did at least a full stream on. There might be other RPGs that we talked about or that brought up or something like that. But fundamentally, these are the games that we basically had a stream at least on. And we started off right at the beginning of the new year with Grimwild. RIP Grimwild. But it's still a cool game. Unfortunately, like many of you, I'm out $125 or something like that. But hey, at least we got the PDFs, I guess this is the thing. But and then you can see right into that we covered Arcana Unearthed, an alternate 3rd edition player's handbook from Monty Cook Games back from 2004. So we kind of you can see we kind of went all over the place here. So Grimwild, Arcana Unearthed, Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition. Yes, so we did cover it this year. Obviously we've covered it before, but we covered it this year as well. Break, Trespasser, The Dark Eye, or Deshwarshog, The One Ring, 2nd edition, the Planescape setting from AD&D 2nd edition, Torchbearer 2nd Edition, RuneQuest, Fabula Ultima, specifically the natural fantasy and some of the bestiary stuff, but Fabula Ultima in general has been discussed. Dragonlance, the campaign setting from D&D's history. Tactiquest, a light indie RPG by one of our patrons, Level 2 Janitor, available on itch.io. The Tome of Worldbuilding, along with the Nomicon. These are follow-ups to the legendary and much beloved Tome of Adventure Design, which I have long loved. They Came from the Cyclops' Cave, a story path system. The Fate Core system. Ultraviolet Grasslands and the Black Citadel. Rapscallion, a pirate PBTA game from Magpie. Mythic Bastionland from Chris McDowell. Battle Zoo Eldamon from our friends over at Roll for Combat. Daggerheart from Darrington Press. Panic at the Dojo, a small indie game about fighting people real good. Warhammer The Old World, the role-playing game, not to be confused with Warhammer 4th Edition, the role-playing game. Hillfolk, a dramatic game because it's called the Drama System, from Pelgrane Press and Robin Laws. Stormlight Handbook, the first player's guide to the Cosmere role-playing game. Draw Steel. Starfinder 2nd Edition. 13th Age 2nd Edition. Reign, a game of lords and leaders. This was an older one that's been around for a while. Legend in the Mist, the rustic fantasy follow-up to City in the Mist. Nimble, the standalone system followed up to the Nimble 5th Edition from a box set, which we covered as a live unboxing, which was pretty cool. Shadow of the Weird Wizard, the fantasy follow-up to, or the more traditional fantasy follow-up to Shadow of the Demon Lord. Worlds Without Number. Beacon, the One Ring Moria Through the Doors of Durin, a game or a product that I thought was so impactful that it actually is going to start off an entirely new series for us this year, where I'm going to be playing a quasi-solo / chat plays One Ring group solo game of the Moria solo game that is found in the back of this book. Kicking off Mech Week, which started at the end of the year, we have Lancer into Tenra Bancho Zero, Battle Century G Remastered, Mech Warrior Destiny. And lastly, we ended the year on a kind of strange and cuddly note with Wilderfeast, You Are What You Eat, Coriolis, The Great Dark, which gave Bob a panic attack, and last but not least, Land of Eam, Muppets Meet Lord of the Rings. Look at that. We can just do it right there. Muppets Meet Lord of the Rings. So those are the products that we covered this year. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Lots of cool stuff that we covered, and let's get into it, shall we? All right. Let me make sure this looks correct. All right. So our first category is Not For Me But Great Award. So this is a award that I am presenting as a sort of special award, where I fully and freely admit that in my current situation and my current place in my role-playing game journey, I have no real interest in playing these games. And I do acknowledge and I tip my hat to how cool and how awesome and how amazing that these games are. So while I don't necessarily want to play these games, I do respect what they are doing a lot. And I could even see a world where, I'm just so, I'm so impressed with what they did with this game that I want to maybe play it. So our nominees for the 90 are Draw Steel, Nimble, a fast tactical RPG, Lancer, and Hillfolk from Robin Laws and Pelgrane Press. So before we go ahead and give the award, I just want to say, so one of the things someone said, surprise Draw Steel is in the not for me category. So the reason for that, and the same reason in some ways that Lancer is here, is simply because I am just not really into a super hyper tactical, crunchy, grid-based combat system right now in my life. That's just not what I'm really feeling. And so while there are elements of, like, say, Lancer and Draw Steel, which I think are really, really cool, it's just not something that that's not where my heart is. That's not where I'm at right now. But I do appreciate and I respect the design. Let me see if this is actually working. Hold on a sec. Okay, it's gigantic. Shrink that bad boy down there. All right. There we go. All right, so the Not For Me But Great Award. So Draw Steel obviously has an incredibly rich game, full of really complex decision-making and a lot of really cool mechanics. It brings an interesting element of cinematics to the game, of a tactical game. And it is, in my opinion, probably one of the most worthy 4th edition successors that we have seen. Lancer, I really, really appreciate for its commitment to the bit. In some ways, this is the most tactical RPG we've ever seen on the game or on the show, and with combats that can even take multiple hours, but not in a bad way, but in a way that I think people really enjoy. Nimble, I said during the course of the game, I don't know why you would play 5th edition D&D if Nimble exists. So I just think it does everything that 5th edition's trying to do, but better, quicker, easier, smoother. I think the term that someone used was that it wasn't rules light, it was rules tight. And I thought that was a very apropos description. Lastly, Hillfolk. That kind of super high dramatic storytelling isn't something I'm really feeling. And buying into this, kind of almost Nordic saga type system. But I thought Hillfolk did that in a really, really good way. In some ways, it kind of reminded me of Monster Hearts, where it's not a genre that I like, but I appreciate it because it just does it so well. So, the 90 for Not For Me But Great Award goes to Nimble. Nimble really impressed me with its approach to 5th edition. I think it just does 5th edition better than 5th edition. And while I do not have an interest in playing 5th edition D&D, I certainly would say that if I did, I would see myself wanting to play Nimble. I thought all of the games were particularly cool to be nominated in this award ceremony, but this is where I would have gone as well. Aaron says that this would have been their pick as well. I think it has a zeitgeist. It has a pickup, and it's doing some stuff that I think is really neat. Draw Steel and Nimble both. I should actually highlight this. Draw Steel and Nimble both. There's no attack roll. You just do your damage. Now there's a scale of how much damage you do or what effect you have, and so I think that both of these games, deserve their place in this award ceremony. But I'm ultimately going to have to give it to Nimble, just because it's a beautiful box set. It's really well presented. So great job to Evan and to the Nimble box set. Would you play Pathfinder or Nimble if you made the choice? That's a great question, Junderlin Games. My answer would be Nimble over Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, if you said Starfinder 2nd Edition, that might be a tougher decision, and I don't know if I have an answer for that. All right. Our next category, most surprising. And believe it or not, we have 6 nominations for this category. So most surprising is this idea of the PDF icon on Draw Steel says it all. Well, it's also because Draw Steel isn't on Drive-Thru RPG. So some of the games I have on Drive-Thru RPG, so I have to get it from there. So most surprising, it could be good or bad. These were the games that I covered this year that I went in and basically had a moment of being like, wow, I was not expecting this game to do what it did. And it, whether it was a mechanic or the art or anything, it was a game that really surprised me. Now, that's usually going to say that all of these games have something about them that's really good. But there was an element of this game that, quite frankly, I went in basically expecting to hate it and ended up liking it or loving it. or I went into the game expecting to hate it or love it, and I maybe ended up having some questions or problems about it. So most surprising game for 2025. Now I realized I wanted to do this before my last one, so I apologize because I didn't get a chance to do this. So I am going to put up the poll, and I'm going to let you all weigh in, and so we can see. Now, granted, remember, this is most surprising to me. So how you answer this is entirely up to you. You could basically answer. I would answer. How do you think Derek? What do you think Derek's choice of winner is going to be? Not what was the most, for you, if that makes sense. All right, resetting poll. It's a very complicated situation here. We got it. Okay, so most surprising. So get your votes in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. 6 for Tendra Bancha 0. 7 for Battle Century G. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to tweak my window capture a little bit, just so we can make it look a little bit prettier. All right, votes are coming in. So, real quick, as kind of we go through this, Daggerheart. Now, we played Daggerheart as part of the beta. We played it, and I thought it was interesting, but I there was a lot of stuff in the beta that I thought was okay, but not great. I didn't pay attention to any of the development that occurred for the game, and then when it finally came out, I was like, holy shit, they really did the damn thing, and they created a PBTA game mixed with a trad game in a way that seems to work with crunchy bits. And it was just really surprising to me how much better the game evolved between those two things. And as a lifelong PBTA player, how much the Daggerheart game solves so much of those issues. Wilderfeast was a game that is crossing Dungeon Meshi, a anime that I absolutely loathed, with an absurd premise of Monster Hunter meets Eat Your Monsters. This was a meme choice, and I ended up thinking this game was delightful and well designed and particularly awesome. Draw Steel. Unfortunately, not every game is a surprise in the good way. I expected to really like Draw Steel, and it does, in many ways I did. However, Draw Steel surprised me with, and I know a lot of people are going to say, with the layout and the art. No, actually not. What Draw Steel really surprised me with was the GM section and how the game really seemed, once you got to the GM section, to have a lot of information about quantum challenges, fudging, making things artificially easy, artificially difficult in order to keep the pacing and the dream alive. And that seemed really crazy to me in a super hyper tactical game, especially one that's as crunchy as Draw Steel. Land of Eam we covered just recently. Massive surprise. Again, it's a Muppets game, and I thought that the game was charming, but what I didn't expect was to have a complicated, I actually think it's not particularly good for kids, complicated game with a huge, crunchy crafting and cooking system and a resolution system that very much reminds me of my own Dungeon Time Extreme. Beacon, a anime Final Fantasy inspired game. Blew me away with its mechanics, its phased initiative system, its job system. I was completely expecting to shit on this game and didn't. And our last two mech games, Battle Century G and Tenra Bancha 0, really surprised me with how well they managed to sort of create mechanics that honestly really surprised me. Tenra Bancha 0 really ended up being a pretty great mechanic, being a pretty great narrative game with a lot of really interesting mechanics. And while it was a little bit, bulky and awkward, I still thought I was going to just shit on this game, and I liked it. And then Battle Century G had one of the coolest and most clever HP mechanics that I had seen in a very long time. And again, wasn't expecting to see that, but it was one of those things that just stuck in my head as like, wow, this is a really cool mechanic, and I need to sort of take care of that. Or take a look at that in the future. It was that ablative layer of shields. All right, so those were our most surprising candidates, all 7 of them. Sorry, there's not 6 or 7 of them. And the nightie goes to Wilder Feast. Yes, Wilder Feast was the most surprising game for me. Again, all of these games had something about them that really, really shocked me or made me think twice, look twice, blink twice, and really surprised me. And in some ways, they all deserve this award because there is something about all these games that I found really, really surprising. And obviously, in Draw Stealin's case, it was maybe not the best thing, but it was still a really cool experience to see something, and despite looking at all these games, to be like, wow, this is not what I expected. And in fact, pleasantly to enjoy the game. So again, there's a lot of cool stuff from a lot of these games, and I totally intend to steal and beg and borrow and stuff like that from these in the future. So congrats to Wilder Feast. You are indeed what you eat. All right. So next up, we have Most Innovative Design. So Most Innovative Design is this idea of what is a game that had a mechanic that to me stood out in a very, it could be a holistic design, but usually it's a specific mechanic. So what I want to highlight from each of these games is something that I thought, I haven't really seen something like this in the RPG space before, and I think it's really cool. So our nominees are Daggerheart, Land of Eam, Trespasser, Dark Fantasy Tactics, Panic at the Dojo, and Reign, a game of lords and leaders. So real quick, let me kind of discuss what these games did and why I thought they were so innovative. Daggerheart, quite frankly, it is a dual axis PBTA game that separates complication versus opportunity from the core resolution mechanic. Now, if that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook to you, well, you clearly don't watch this show enough. But long story short, Daggerheart solves this one issue that PBTA has, which is that when you roll well and you succeed, you also don't generate complications or problems. Daggerheart took those 2 elements of PBTA and separated them by making the dice mechanic do 2 things. First, you add them together and add a bonus, just like almost every other PBTA game, just like most D20 games. But it also said, we're going to roll 2 dice and you're going to compare the 2 of them. And they're going to be different colors because if one is higher than the other, then you generate an opportunity, what the game calls hope. And if the fear die is lower, you generate fear or a complication or future problem. This solves a major issue with the PBTA system in my mind. Connected to that, the fear system. Now, this isn't really innovative, but a lot of games use a meta currency that the GM can then spend to make bad stuff happen. We see this in 2D20 games. We see this in Fate. We see this in a lot of situations. However, Daggerheart, with its fear system, basically allows you to sort of create a pool of reservoirs of hard moves, which is something that PBTA games had never really had before, at least not the ones that I was super familiar with. And I thought that was really, really cool. Duality dice absolutely have in my opinion, I don't know if they're inspired by Genesis, but there's definitely a strong connection to them. I don't remember if they specifically called out Genesis in their RPGs that influenced them, but you're absolutely right where you can succeed, but there's a problem or there's a opportunity. The problem with Genesis is you need a bunch of bespoke dice with a lot of weird symbols. So the fact that they were able to do this with just 2d12 was awesome. And that's what makes it great. Okay, Land of Eam. Land of Eam, in my opinion, creates a very, very great version of the PBTA system. It's a D12. It uses, so you're not rolling 2 dice, and it looks like it's not a bell curve, but it kind of is because the numbers have different ranges, which is a little bit awkward. But what it does is it's a 5 degree of success system. It's critical success, success with a complication, and then 2 failures. But what's key about both of the failures is none of the failures are just failure. One is failure with an opportunity, and one is failure with a disaster or a consequence. In other words, all 5 of the results move the game forward, and I think that's really, really, really cool. And quite frankly, I call it innovative, but it was the kind of what I did from when I ran Dungeon Time Extreme and I tried to kind of PBTAify 5th edition D&D, I wanted to avoid the true null result and instead create a system for that. And Land of Eam, I think, did that with a very cool and simple D12 based approach that I think a lot of people, I think it's a great way to sort of get, to have a fiction forward. People talk about failing forward. I think that type of system works really well for that. Trespasser has a lot of really cool tech in it, but the coolest piece that I've never seen before is what's called the Sparks and Shadows system. And without, getting too much into the weeds on it, this was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in terms of making exploration feel mechanical. And a lot of the games that we're talking about tend to be like, oh, make the narrative more mechanical or make the story. This is doing something for exploration, which is a space that I think has been largely ignored in the RPG space. And Sparks and Shadow is a way to make the exploration part of the game gameable without it feeling soulless, without it feeling like it, doesn't matter. And to finalize this, one of the things I always say on this channel is one of my rules of dungeon craft, which I got from Ray Winiger many years ago, is great adventures, great systems challenge the PC and the player. And unfortunately, a lot of exploration systems, say in an old school game, tend to only challenge the player because there's no skill system. And in modern games, they tend to just challenge the PC because it's make a perception check. Sparks and Shadows does an incredible job of challenging both the PC and the player. And I think it's one of the coolest bits of game tech I've seen in a long time. Panic at the Dojo, without going too much into it, is an input randomness game. You roll your pool of dice at the beginning of your turn. And based on what you roll, and each class has a different set of dice. One class might roll 3d12, another type class might roll 10d6. And after you roll your dice, that determines then what you can do on your turn. And I think having the randomness be at the beginning, what we call input randomness, is a really cool piece of tech that I have wanted to experiment with and mess with for a long time. I've seen it in board games, and I haven't really seen it in TTRPGs. Lastly, Rain, I'm only putting here because Gobble Dice was so funny and we made fun of it. But at the end of the day, it ended up feeling like a really evocative, tactile mechanic. Gobble Dice basically is a way in which when it's your turn, you're going to make a attack or do whatever, you have your pool of dice. And although the term is a little bit silly, one of the ways that this game uses opposition is the opponent will, quote unquote, gobble up your dice. They will eat up your dice, and that makes your pool reduced. And not only is it effective and it's easy and it avoids, some of the stupid opposed rolls and stuff like that, but what I like about it is it felt very tactile, not tactical, tactile. And I think that's really, really, really cool because I think that that's something that's missing in a lot of games is it feels like you're being, your effectiveness is being taken away by your opponent's strength. So those are our nominees for most innovative design. And the Golden Knight goes to Trespasser. If it wasn't obvious from my description just then, Sparks and Shadows, I think, is not only is it awesome as a system, it's doing something it's just something that people have completely ignored. People have given up on exploration, and I think that is at the heart of so many role-playing games and should be. And I think that's really awesome. So, Sparks and Shadows to me makes exploration an interactive, involved, evocative game that isn't just rolling D20s and isn't just GM fluffy bullshit time or GM, Mother May I GM. So I really, really like this. And again, Daggerheart, Land of Eam, Panic of the Dojo, you can find these on DriveThruRPG. Trespasser you can find on itch.io. It is produced by Tundalus. So if you want to take a look at that, it is in quasi development, but it's pretty far along. I promise you, there's no bribery.
Starting all my shitty hot takes with as an award-winning TTRPG designer, Jokes aside, truly honored and grateful for this. Your channel rocks. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, GM Scott says you're supposed to bribe before the vote. Thank you, Tundalus. I really, really appreciate you. I look forward to taking a look at this game again because when we covered it, since we covered it, there's been a new release on the game. It is now up to version 2.1, and I think that is, I think it's a really great game, and it's got a lot of appearance. And again, there's some really, really, really cool stuff in here outside of this. Again, it's 4th edition meets old school gaming, so. You know, it's two things that I absolutely love. That's true. We did do 2 looks at it already, River Ray. You're right. So very cool game, and I think well deserving of its golden night. All right, next up, and we're gonna do a poll for this one here. Okay, best art and graphical design. All right, so we've got Mythic Bastionland, The One Ring, Legend in the Mist, and Daggerheart. So let me get the poll up. Best art and graphical design. We've got Mythic Bastionland, The One Ring, Legend in the Mist, and Daggerheart. So go ahead and get your votes in. Now, again, we've covered all of these on the channel. These were games that I think not only the art have a consistency and quality across all of them, but the actual elements of the game, the look of the game, the way that the game flowed together, I think really, really spoke to just how high quality the game was. And let me open up these while people vote. For some odd reason, why is Mythic Bastionland never in my... it's never in my folder. There we go. Mythic Bastionland. One Ring, and Legend in the Mist, and Daggerheart. We all know what Daggerheart looks like. I don't actually need to open that one. I'm just kidding. Okay. Daggerheart. Okay. So I wanted to show these real quick while we're voting here. So let me go to book view. So this, of course, is Daggerheart. The art was top notch. Each piece just popped off the page. Even luminaries like Stephen Glicker from Roll for Combat, who knows art, knows this stuff, talked about how much money they spent on art. There's a lot of friendly formatting. Lots of the art is really evocative. It pops off the page, but you also have some cool sketch art stuff. If you're like me and you grew up with 3rd edition, it's really, really cool. As far as the layout, it's pretty simplistic and basic. It's just kind of, 2-page columns, but they used a good art. They used art pieces. They used examples, and it's very, very, very well done. But again, the art is just incredible. And then, like, when you talk about like the ancestries, I loved the spread and the sketchy style. Very reminiscent for me of 3rd edition. All right, Legend in the Mist. This is a game that had a stunning and incredible art style with great iconography, great fonts. Every part of this game sold the story of rustic fantasy role-playing game. So the intro is a freaking comic book. The art is mythical and folksy. The presentation looks like you're sitting at a table. It's well laid out. And there's great use of sidebars written in a very, kind of almost speaking to you from the point of view of the author. Kind of like a little fun side note. The art is well integrated into the pages, and everything here flows extremely well. The One Ring is just a beautiful piece of artwork in its own route. Every piece here just pops off the page. The fantastic black and white sketch style artistry, and of course the opening chapters of each page have a beautiful painterly. At the start of each chapter has just an incredibly beautiful double page spread in a very free leaguey artistic style. It is both kind of impressionistic but also beautiful. Again, the pages all work really well towards one another. It feels distinctively Tolkien, which I really, really like. And even though it's pretty basic in terms of it's just kind of text and words and fonts, it does flow and work out really well. And lastly, we have Mythic Bastionland, a game that, again, has a beautifully well-integrated border, fonts, layouts. And again, it's pretty basic black and, black text with some occasional, little charts to break it up. But when you get into the section on the knights, each of and you get the 2-page spread of the myth and the knight, the myth and the knight, the myth and the knight, the myth and the knight. It is every piece. It's just so evocative. It's just so impressive. It's beautiful. It's evocative. Every piece feels like it's a look into a mystery of a myth of a time of long ago, and just every page, every part of this book, in terms of the design, the graphical design, is just dripping with usefulness. It is truthfully a incredible, stunning achievement. So we've got some nice ones. Now, this is a really close vote. We've got 18 votes for One Ring, 18 votes for Legend of the Mist, 15 votes for Mythic Bastionland, and only 6 votes for Daggerharder, which apparently I called it Daggerharder. So pretty close. Everyone's kind of not really sure where we're going to end up with this one. But move the poll here really quick. And let me close my PDF. All right. Let me grab my 90. Here we go. All right. The 90 goes to Legend in the Mist. Legend in the Mist. Mateo, no, this is not, the chat does not vote. You are not voting for who wins, Mateo. You're just voting on what you think I'm going to pick. The winner is Legend in the Mist. This game is stunning. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. It is just an absolute wonderfully beautiful. Am I just picking C each time? No, I picked B, and I picked B. See, Cal, I just showed Mythic Bastionland. Legend of the Mist is just an absolutely gorgeous book. I mean, again, all of these books are incredible in their own route, but Legend of the Mist, just the book feels like and reads like a comic book. And again, all of these books I think are wonderfully done. But in particular, I have to give it to Legend of the Mist. It's just so well done. And I love the iconography. I love how the theme books flow together. The use of fonts, the use of icons, the use of art, how it blends into the page. It's just absolutely fantastic book. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And just every piece of art, I cannot believe look at every page just has just amazing design and just banger after banger after banger after banger. It's truly an incredible, absolutely incredible piece of art. So Legend of the Mist is our winner for best art and graphical design. Trespasser was our winner for most innovative mechanic with Sparks and Shadows. Wilderfeast was our most surprising game, a game I absolutely thought I was going to 100% hate and absolutely ended up being like, holy shit, this is actually pretty cool, and I actually kind of like it. It was a really cool mechanic. I was not surprising that. And last but not least, not for me, but great award went for Nimble. All right, moving on. Best character creation / advancement. All right. So basically, this is one that, you know, the patrons definitely helped me out with, you know, because the people there are much more like about, you know, making builds and doing that kind of stuff more so than me. But this is basically the question of what is the game that, you know, is the game that gets you the most excited to make a character, or to level up, or, you know, to sit down and actually play the game from a mechanical character perspective. So we have got 4 options. We've got Legend of the Mist, we've got Fabula Ultima, represented by Natural Fantasy. We have Beacon, and we have Wilder Feast. So again, we have a poll up. Now, Fabula Ultima obviously uses the classic JRPG system. Every time you win, basically every session or two, you get a new level. That level allows you to pick a class, or a new level in one of your classes. You get a new ability, a new job skill. If you master a class, you get a whole new heroic skill. That is kind of like a super powerful ability. It's very fun. There's so many classes to pick from. It's multi-class. The game is not, you literally have to start the game multi-class. You can't not be a multi-class character. It's what multi-class character games wish they could be. Legend of the Mist is a little different. Legend of the Mist uses a tag-based system. Rather than relying on endless lists of feats, everything in Legend of the Mist is based off of descriptive tags. And we're able to use those tags to give us a mechanical bonus in the game. But in theory, Legend of the Mist, the advancement that you gain is so diegetic, it's so tied into the game, because literally everything is just a new tag or a new trait that you can add to your character. If you've played Fate and you know how aspects work, it's like this, but I think done even better. And in fact, when we covered Legend of the Mist, I talked about how I thought it was Fate done better. And so the character creation is very fun, very evocative, and it's very, very cool. Beacon is a JRPG style game with an extremely crunchy system for not only kind of like Fabula Ultima, building up a series of built classes and levels and abilities, but similar to some more modern games like Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy 14 or Final Fantasy X2, you can basically, or Final Fantasy Tactics, you can change which job your character is wearing. And that will allow you to get different abilities, different equipment slots, which you can change from session to session. Very cool. And lastly, Wilder Feast was surprisingly deep for its character advancement, but it was extremely diegetic. In Wilder Feast, the whole premise of the game is you are what you eat. And quite literally, the way your character advances is by going out, killing a monster, cooking it, eating it, and then choosing from some of those monsters' abilities and traits and skills and increasing your abilities and traits and skills from that monster. If you wanted to, I don't know, work up your character's strength score, but the monster you fought wasn't a very strong monster, your strength score doesn't get to go up. If you want to get strong, you have to go find, hunt, kill, cook, and eat strong monsters. And it's so diegetic. And it puts like your character's advancement entirely in your hand, but in a very game forward way. It literally drives you to do stuff. So I think it was really cool. It was really surprising. I mean, that's why it was in the most surprising. Hey, we got a $20 from Commander Snookums. Thank you, thank you, Commander. Fabula Ultima and Beacon are head and shoulders above the other two in this category. Or is it just me? Am I missing something about the other two? Happy to be wrong. Happy to be if wrong. Commander Snookums, I mean, character advancement means different things to different people. Some people are more excited about watching their character develop as a series of for example, Legend of the Mist, as a series of tags. Same thing with Wilder Feast. While it's not tags, your character sheet literally tells the story of what your character has done. You could build a Fabula Ultima character or a Beacon character at level 30, just sit down. You really can't do that with Legend of the Mist or Wilder Feast, because Legend of the Mist and Wilder Feast, in order to make a character, you have to play the character. Does that make sense? Because, your character only gets advancement from the stuff that you did. And I think that's really, really cool. So I really appreciate that. But but anyways, all of these were really cool, and I thought they were really, really exciting. Now, and I want to reiterate here, because there was a little bit of confusion. The chat is not voting for the winner. Derek has already selected the winners. The patrons helped me nominate I had my own things that I added to the nomination list, but the patrons were able to nominate that. We did that over the last week. This is what you think I'm going to pick. Okay. All right. So the winner is Beacon. Beacon is very gamist. There is no doubt about this. However, this game surprised me with how fun I thought it would be to play. I love it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love that you're building out your character's abilities horizontally, but you only get to use some of them. Okay? You are building out a stable, if you will, of abilities. And then from each session to session, as your character changes your sort of expression of your job, you're able to equip those abilities into your slots. And this means in some ways that your character is changing every single time. You're not stuck with this singular expression of your character. It also means that as your character gains new and more abilities, your character doesn't become infinitely more complex. Yes, there is an element of 4th edition D&D to this, where in 4th edition D&D, your character, no matter how high of level you got, only ended up with 4 encounter powers and 4 daily powers. As you got higher levels, you would replace them. Now, that's fine, but it felt a little bad to lose some of your earlier abilities. In Beacon, you keep them as a stable of abilities, and then you get to pick and choose. This also means that if you need to be a tank or a healer, you can literally change your character's job and become a better healer, become a better thing. I think it's really, really cool. And I would be completely remiss if I didn't say loot crates or loot boxes. Beacons literally uses loot boxes, and let's just call it what it is. They work because we know they work. Now, people say loot boxes are horrible and exploitative, and they are in the real life because people are paying money and stuff in order to try to get them, and it's feeding into the microtransaction. However, we're not paying, there's no microtransactions happening here. I was shocked when we did Beacon and I talked about random item creation. My entire time playing D&D has been spent rolling random items. Okay. In fact, I basically do loot crates in all of my games, going back to D&D. Okay. And the reason I say this is because if you say loot boxes aren't your things, guess what? Are you randomly rolling for your magic items? Then that's a loot box. And I love random loot. And D&D loves random loot. Random loot has been part of D&D since 1974. And so that's the way we always did it. And I was shocked how many people said, I've never used random loot. And I was shocked. In fact, I remember when 4th edition came out and it introduced this idea of the magic item wish list, and people were like vomiting in the streets. There were very few things I agreed with the haters about in 4th edition, but magic item wish lists were one of them. I love random treasure tables. I love randomness. Now, the only downside is, sometimes it sucks to get a treasure item and you're like, I can't use it. So what I love about Beacon is it randomly generates 3 items. You pick one. So chances are pretty good you're going to get one of them. And I really, really like that. I mean, at this point, we understand that the item in the box is quantum. In other words, the GM did not. In fact, I usually have my players roll the item from the table as they open up the treasure chest. So they know it's quantum loot. And if it's already a known quantum loot, why not just let them have a couple of chances? And I think it's really exciting. So I thought this was really awesome. I really enjoyed this. And I thought I want to reiterate, the loot boxes are cool, but I really was impressed with the way that you acquired your abilities and slotted them in. I think GM Scott said it's a little bit like Daggerheart. Yeah, like Daggerheart, where you only have access to 5 cards at a time, and then you swap them in from the vault. And that's exactly right. And I love that system, GM Scott, as well in Daggerheart, for sure. So it's very gamey, but it is really cool. Now, again, all of these games that got nominated were on my list because I thought they did something that was truly awesome and truly special and really deserve that. Who's the runner-up? If I had to pick a runner-up, I would probably pick Fabula Ultima. It's not my like favorite expression of a job system. That would go to Beacon. But if I had to pick a runner-up, it would be Fabula Ultima. not EAM. I kind of don't like that whole weird system. That one's a little weird to me. All right. Next, best layout / most reader friendly. So this is a little bit different than graphical design and art and all this other stuff. This is just like, which of these books did I find the nicest and do I find consistently nice and easy to read through? Legend of the Mist we looked at. Nimble is, of course, designed to be extremely quick and fast and to the point. Battle Zoo Eldamon is, I think, not only is it wonderfully designed, but the Eldamon are presented in a very, very logical, orderly fashion with great access to the charts and abilities and powers. It's very easy to reference, and I'm a little biased here because I played an Eldamon trainer earlier or in 2025, and I found it very easy to use the book. So I found it to be very reader friendly in that regard. So we've got 4 options. Oh, and of course, Fabula Ultima, which does a really great job of laying out the material inside of it in a very user-friendly, one-page way, but without being too over the top with how artsy it is. Again, we've been playing Fabula Ultima. I've been reading a lot of Fabula Ultima, and I've just found it a very surprisingly easy book to use and to reference, which I think is really good. So, you guys can get your votes in. Again, this is based strictly off of my opinion. Cinnabus, yeah, we did a stream where we kind of did some deep dives into a couple more of the Eldamon elements. So, all right, get your votes in. I'm going to have a couple more sips of my diet soda. I didn't bring a Monster White, but we're actually flying through this, so we're actually doing pretty good, considering we started at 8, all things considered. All right. And Steven is here to make sure Derek honors the bribe. All right. And the Golden Knight goes to. We're going to do this a little bit. We're going to slow roll this. Okay. It's not Legend in the Mist. And the reason is I like Legend in the Mist. It's beautiful, but at times it does read a little bit too much like a comic book. And sometimes the fonts are a little bit too much. So minus on that. It is not Nimble. Somebody said it in chat, and they were right on the money. Nimble, I think, takes for granted a little bit that you know 5th edition, and some of the elements of Nimble, I think, aren't as well laid out in that regard. Like Nimble is great if you're coming from 5th edition, which I think most people are. Now, I of the 4 of these, I have the least experience with Nimble, but I do think that there's some elements there that, again, it's nominated because it's really good. So let me be clear about this. It's not bad. I'm saying of these 4, it's the one that I think of these 4, it doesn't win. So that leaves between Fabula Ultima and Battle Zoo Eldamon. And the Golden Knight goes to Battle Zoo Eldamon. Battle Zoo Eldamon, again, I've used a lot of PF2 books over the years. I was basically playing my entire class out of this game. And because it was 2025 and my life was on fire, and I'll be honest with you, I was very lazy and I didn't write down a lot of my stuff on my character sheet. Instead, I literally basically played my character out of this book. I didn't write down any of my abilities. I didn't write them down on an index card the way that Mark recommends that you do. Nope. I was just basically playing my character straight out the book. And it was great. And it was easy. It was a lot of between the powers being laid out in a very sensible manner, very clear cut, very quick to figure it out. The Eldamon laid out in a very logical manner. And I just love the look of it. The sidebars, very good. the Eldamon spread, the Eldamon energy element spreadsheet side was very, very good. So, but yes, I assure you, this was not a Stephen Glicker. This was not a Stephen Glicker bribery. The book really is that good. And anybody, everybody here knows that I don't really hype up Pathfinder 2 as much anymore as I used to, but I do talk a lot about Battlezoo Eldamon, and I even try to get it included in Northern Reaches because I think it's a really great system. And again, I found it very easy and easy to use. That being said, I love the way that Fabula Ultima is laid out. So, no problems there. But sometimes things aren't quite where you would expect them to be. Now, this is obviously natural fantasy, but like in the core book, like sometimes like all the equipment should be together and sometimes it's not. And sometimes sometimes things are not laid out as intuitively to me. It could be just to me. It's totally just to me, but all of these games are very good in that regard. So really, really, good stuff there. All right, moving on. Best GM support. Now we're actually not going to do a poll for this one, but so we got three nominations here. And what is best GM support? This is one that I didn't even ask my patrons about. This is just one that based off of, and I went back and I spent time with these books because there were books that I knew. I was like, this book does it well. Basically, which of these books do I think would be the best to just, not only does it give you great advice on how to run this game, but it also gives you all the tools that you need to run the game. And I'm not going to lie here. These are incredibly close. And I don't even know if I agree with my answer. Okay? All of these games are incredible. Mythic Bastionland, literally, the other day, I designed a dungeon in Fabula Ultima for my group. And I used Mythic Bastionland's site generator. Okay. So when you're using a game that isn't even, when you're using a game to use it for another game, that's on a different level. Mythic Bastionland has an incredible set of oracle tables, design tables, for designing an awesome hex crawl. But that's not even why it's in this category. It is in this category, and it deserves to be in this category, but that's not why it's in this category, okay? It's in this category because at the end of Mythic Bastionland, there is an entire section where basically the author speaks to you, gives a description of what might have happened in a game. Actually, I need to show you this because it's so good. PDF viewer. There we go. Okay. So this is an example of where on the left side, you have, hey, here's what happened in the game, right? You see like the example of play dialogue, right? Some characters are sparring, the ref says something, the players are going back and forth, yada, yada, yada. So this is like an example of play on the left. Then on the right, there's like thoughts from the author about how that played out and what was going on in that scene and what are some different ways that you might approach it. It's one thing to give people rules. It's another thing to give them commentary and feedback and thoughts. John Harper did this in Blades in the Dark. It's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite books of all times. So Mythic Bastionland, it absolutely incredible with this. Now, everything that I said, and by the way, remember I still said there's the hex generator and all that other stuff as well. Now, that being said, Grimwild has an entire system for creating and building maps. It has its own map system where you use tokens to generate settlement sites, dangers, paths blocking. This is all covered in the game. These all mean something. It's full of its own version of making 5-point site maps. In fact, this is very similar to the one from Mythic Bastionland. You've got a settlement map generator. You've got crucibles, aka oracles. You got to forgive Grimwild; they use a lot of their own terminology, but there are so many crucibles, aka oracle tables. They're all D66 tables. More crucibles, more crucibles. This book is like a campaign generator in a box. It is incredibly amazing, awesome. All right. We got some notes from the designer. We've got extra tools for the GM. It is a sight to be seen. And then there's Legend in the Mist. Legend in the Mist is composed of 2 chapters. Chapter 1, The Makings of a Hero. Section 1, Chapter of the Hero. And then there's, the PDF is composed of 2 books. There's the Volume 1, The Hero, and Volume 2, The Narrator. Okay? And this entire second book is all about your role as the game master, how to set up a game, how to run a session, how to adjust difficulty, what to do during a scene, how to create a game loop of establishing actions, consequences, and how to keep repeating that loop. It breaks down establish, it breaks down action, it breaks down the outcomes of those actions. It breaks down the consequences, when to deliver them, when to block, when to complicate, when to expose. Furthermore, each of these sections is then broken down how to create sessions, scenes, arcs, what makes a scene with director commentary on everything, different sort of montages, the entire game loop, how to paint stories, how to paint pictures, how to make threats. It is an incredibly robust. This is an essay on the craft of game mastery that is bar none. It is absolutely incredible. And then, just when you think you're done, they also have an entire thing here about how to create different challenges. And using the game has a very mechanical way to approach creating challenges. Everything is designed as this. So all of these games are incredibly top-notch. I cannot stress that you should buy all of these games just to read these parts. Even if you have no interest in playing the game itself, I think they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. This is the hardest one that I could possibly do. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have I don't feel good about this because they should all get an award. But that's cheap. It goes to Bastionland. If for no other reason than I'm using it. I'm literally using Mythic Bastionland to run other campaigns. I cannot stress this enough, though. All of these are incredible. But Chris McDowell just knocked it out of the park with this. It's absolutely a 10 out of 10. It's just absolutely amazing. And again, biased, but John Harper did this in Blades in the Dark. It's one thing to see the GM give you an example of play. It's another thing then to say, hey, look, let's talk about that example of play. Why did we make that decision? What were we trying to do there? And Chris just does this fantastically at the back of their book, which is called the Apocrypha. No, it's the Apocrypha. I can't even say it. But it's absolutely incredible. But I love Legend in the Mist. I absolutely do love Legend in the Mist. However, there's not as much generators in the book as the other two. I still think it's absolutely incredible. It's not Apocrypha. I can't say that word. I don't actually know how to pronounce it, but it's odd. Like, I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Apocrypha. But anyways, but Grimwild is honestly okay. But the problem is that's not what it's called. It's called Odd Apocrypha. There we go. Because it's into the odd, right? So it's not Apocrypha, it's Odd Apocrypha, and it messes with my ability to speak it. Right, because in the book, he doesn't call it, he calls it, because it's based off of Into the Odd. So, of course, he calls it Odd. He uses odd instead of poc. Anyways, Grimwild, absolutely amazing and incredible, but, the creator stole $124 from me. So, it is really good, though. It is absolutely really good. All three of these are absolutely amazing. But yeah. But yeah, Legend of the Mist doesn't have the same kind of support that we have here. Uh-oh. Fooster, 5 gift subs. We're gonna get a bunch of strong people. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, Fooster. Thank you, Fooster.
I am strong, strong, strong.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. I hope folks enjoy their pledge. Oh, we have another one.
Strong, strong.
All right, I think we're good. Fooster, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully those people enjoy their emojis and their loyalty badge. Hey, welcome everybody to the adventure. Thank you, Fooster. Really appreciate you. My Candera is trying to make a point. Yeah. Grimwild is not, it is a dead game, but it's not a dead game. You could still totally play it. The game is exceptionally robust. I am extremely disappointed of what happened with it, but I still think it's an incredible product. It's beautiful. It's well designed. Yeah, it's a little jargonistic at times, but it is a really cool version of the game. I will say this. Apparently, creating fantasy-esque versions of Forged in the Dark games is super cursed because, as many people know, there was also a fantasy-esque Forged in the Dark game called, my mind is going blank, even though I kickstarted it. I just wanted to call it Dungeon Keeper, but it's not called Dungeon Keeper. It's called... brain fart. Wicked Ones. Thank you. Wicked Ones. That also, they created the PDF and then we just never got the print copy. So Grimwild is a completed game like Wicked Ones, but it's basically dead and we're never going to get a print copy. So, oh well. All right. Next up, we've got best setting, lore, and world building. This is another tough one, folks. So this is kind of a catch-all category, which is basically the and I kind of some of these are kind of a joke. So I'm going to say a couple things. So first things, I'm going to include these two. These don't actually. I mean, technically, Worlds Without Number does have its own implied setting, but most people just don't use it. These books, however, are excellent. So even though they don't have their own setting or lore, they are wonderful world building tools. So I put these here as sort of an honorable mention, which is to say both these games or both these books are really, really good, even if they don't actually have their own setting. Again, Worlds Without Number does, but yeah. Okay. So I'm not including these because of that reason. Okay. Another one, which is not getting that I'm taking off the list, is The One Ring. Because The One Ring that's just not fair. Okay. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. So I'm taking it off the list. Because The One Ring didn't make that lore. Tolkien made that lore. Okay.
Edward tipped $100. Hopefully not interrupting. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'll have to catch the VOD. Family health issues. Thanks to you and all of the KOLC members for being awesome. 2025 was a wonderful year, and I'm looking forward to 2026 with you all.
Edward, thank you so much. That is very, very gracious of you. I hope everything works out well. I certainly understand that family has their own family comes first. And again, you've been an incredible support this year for us, and we really appreciate having you be part of our community. I hope you appreciate the VOD, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments on it. Best of luck and good wishes to all your family as well for their health issues as well. But thank you, Edward, so much. I really appreciate the hell out of you for this and for everything that you've done for us. So really, really thankful for you. So yeah, I'm taking this just isn't fair. One Ring is off the table because obviously it would win. I mean, it's just they did an incredible job with this. And yeah, I am kind of not giving Free League their due credit because they do expand the world of Tolkien. And I think they do a great job of it. So I didn't include this just willy-nilly. It's not just about the Tolkien lore. They do have an ability to add to the lore of Tolkien. And I think they did a really great job with it. All right, so that leaves us with Fabula Ultima, Coriolis, Wilderfeast, and Land of Eam. So I'm also going to take Fabula Ultima off the list for the same reason that I'm taking the rest of these off the list, which is Fabula Ultima doesn't really have its own implied setting. It does have some really cool world creation stuff, but the honesty, and it is very aggressive about the way that it does it, in that like you must create a world with these 8 pillars, and I really appreciate it. But like Worlds Without Number and Tome of World Building, it's more of a guide than anything else. That being said, the 3 atlases, natural fantasy, techno fantasy, and high fantasy, are fantastic books that really give you a lot of really cool built-in settings and a lot of really cool built-in concepts that you can use for those type of events. So that's going to leave us with Coriolis, Wilderfeast, and Land of Eam. And the poll is going up. So this is for best setting or lore. We've got Coriolis, which we just covered recently. We've got Wilderfeast, and we got Land of Eam, which was literally our last one that we just covered. And I'd love to hear what you guys think. So Coriolis is a really interesting example of where they took their existing game, which is Coriolis, and they made a second edition, and they said, you know what? We want to change the focus of our game. And that means we should change the setting. And Coriolis does a great job of basically creating a world where what you are doing makes sense. And I really appreciate that. In addition, the setting itself is very evocative and create and built into this idea. When I say Land of Eam, include Mucklands as well. Because, I mean, the fact that Land of Eam is called Land of Eam, I'm not saying that Land of Eam is Mucklands or that Mucklands is Land of Eam, but the game is not called Eam. The game is called Land of Eam. So Coriolis is an absolute, I think, it's just a beautiful example of a really cool setting that is really good for creating adventure, and it's interesting, and it's dangerous, and it's intrigue, and it's all of these things that you want a good campaign setting to be. But it's also unique because it's not just based off of, generic tropes of sci-fi. It's actually based off of, right, late 19th century, early 20th century deep sea exploration and Arctic exploration. And that vibe comes through in the setting and the art and everything in such a cool way that I think it's really impressive. Land of Eam is a game that is basically the Muppets. But it's a weird post-apocalyptic game. So it's kind of like Adventure Time. And they, I think, did a really cool job of making a very comprehensive world in their Muckland setting and basically figuring out a way to make the game sincere, but not serious. And I think that's a really tough thing to pull off while still managing to, hit their, having something called like the Foggy Bottom Swamp or, the Gumdrop Mountains or something like that. And it was fun. It was charming. And I really thought it was a lot of fun. And then there's Wilderfeast, a game that is about eating monsters. And somehow they went hard in the paint with this. They owned it. It's not just yes, the game's about killing. It's Monster Hunter, and it's about killing and eating monsters. And I thought that was all they were going to do. Like when you watch that anime, they just eat monsters because what? I guess they taste good. Wilderfeast literally has an entire lore built around, like they literally worship these ancient gods that are based off of Escoffier, which is a famous French chef who created the Brigade de Cuisine. Basically what he saw as the roles of a kitchen, the sous chef, the head chef, the roundsman, the saucier, the pastry chef. And that is like their deities are based off of these roles from traditional French cuisine. It's crazy. I've never seen a game go so hard in the paint about these elements. So best setting, lore, and world building. Now, the Golden Knight goes to I really wanted to give it to Wilder Feast. I really did, because it is really good. But Coriolis just, it felt fresh and familiar at the same time. I thought it was really cool. It made me want to adventure there. And it was a sci-fi setting that didn't feel like a sci-fi setting. And that is, I think that's really, really cool. Because I could feel the elements of that 19th century Victorian, early 20th century, the Amundsen South Pole expeditions and all of the first people to climb Everest, the early delvers of sea wrecks and all that stuff like that. It's built into the game, and I think it does such a really cool game of this. And yes, obviously the bird is the word as well. So it felt like a sci-fi setting, but it also felt weird and mysterious, and that's what I liked about it. A lot of times sci-fi settings can feel very sterile, and I thought it was just really, really evocative and cool. And again, I think it worked really well for their game and for their setting. And that's the other thing that's important. Like, I will say this, Land of Eam is probably in third place. Wilderfeast is in second place because Wilderfeast's entire shtick leads you to want to play the game. I think the setting should be in service of the system. And I think that both of these games are that. Okay? So we're in the home stretch now. We're into our final column before our finals. So our next category, most mega gameable. We've got Beacon, Wilderfeast, Land of Eam, Trespasser, and Panic at the Dojo. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush here, okay? A lot of people have said, Tundless, yeah, Trespasser was nominated for this. I think all of these games have at some point been discussed. Now, some of these games have been discussed less than the others. Trespasser and Land of Eam, admittedly. And Land of Eam just happened, okay? But Panic at the Dojo, Beacon, and Wilderfeast all got serious talking and consideration about running this as a mega game. Now, we have some people here who don't know what a mega game is. So stay curious, my friend says. What do you mean by mega gameable? Stay curious. What we do at Knights of Last Call in our Patreon is we run games for 50 to 60 to 70 players where we have dozens of GMs, many dozens of players, and we play in a community game. And we play for many months at a time, and it's a living, evolving story. And when we look at games, one of the things that we want to look at, or we jokingly look at, is do we think that this particular system and setting would work well for a game that's designed to be played by 80 people? Some games have certain problems, okay? So I'm not going to beat around the bush here. While we did talk about Panic at the Dojo, we did talk about Panic at the Dojo as actually being more of a PvP game, less of a mega game, and more of a like a tournament where players would actually play against other players in a sort of tournament setting. And again, Land of Eam and Trespasser were ones that I think are really popular because Trespasser brings in the exploration element that I think a lot of people feel is missing in some of the other games, while still having the sort of tactical coded RPG. And I do think it could work really, really particularly well, but nothing about the game itself, I think, is particularly leans up out to it, except for the part of creating and building and maintaining your own town. No offense, but if I was going to steal anything from Trespasser at this point, it would probably be the entire town building section as well. It's really good, and we'll probably steal it. Same thing with Land of Eam. Land of Eam, the setting and the rules, not really that mega gameable. But the game has this massive list of resources that you can gather, fish that you can catch, cooking ingredients that you can find. And anybody who's played an MMO, which mega games have a lot in common with an MMO, will tell you that that kind of stuff here is really, really valuable to a mega game because it gives people a reason to keep playing, to stay involved, and to keep adding into the game. Tundless says unsubscribed. So I've talked at length about Wilderfeast and Beacon. So get your votes in for what you think is the most mega gameable. Wow, that is a Mallrats deep cut Zen bullet. $50 only goes so far. Again, I think there is something to be said about Trespasser, but again, I think there's a lot of mechanics here that we could and should use. And I feel the same way, by the way, about Land of Eam. But I don't think that there's anything in the exact mechanics of this game that make it particularly good. I'm not saying it would be bad for Mega Game. I'm just saying I don't think there's anything in the actual mechanical systems of Land of Eam or Trespasser that lend themselves to Mega Games. I think they could be used, but I don't think they have. What I do think they have is like the base building rules from Trespasser, the town building stuff. Land of Eam has all like the components and the resource gathering and all that other stuff. The games that I think have the best options here are Beacon and Wilderfeast. So I'm not going to beat around the bush too much. Wilderfeast! Again, TS agent, I already made the decision. It has nothing to do with what people vote in chat. It's just an opportunity for your people to vote for which one they think they want. It's a mega game. It's not the same as a West Marches. Here's the problem. Beacon is awesome, and I am actually really super duper excited about it. So let me be very clear about this. I think this game is awesome. When I saw this game, I immediately started talking about mega gaming this game. However, we are there's no VTT, and it really needs CompCon. However, one of our patrons, Nell, has been working on this. So yeah, I mean, maybe when Nell is successful, we will get the Beacon TTRPG. That being said, the problem with Beacon is that the fights can take a long time. And one of the things that you get a limit break or I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a limit break. And you get a limit break, and there's certain problems with implementing it to mega games. And we've talked about it with Lancer as well, which is Beacon, but for mechs. And so again, it's a problem where we would have to make some fixes and some updates. Wilderfeast, on the other hand, has a Foundry module. It is updated. And quite frankly, the nature of Wilderfeast, I think, is perfect for a mega game. I don't know if it's actually, I think it's an okay game, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying I think it's perfect for a mega game. I think the process of, hey, go hunt a monster, kill it, eat it, and gain its powers. For those of you who don't know, Northern Reaches, for a long time, was basically dominated by what became known as Monster Hunt Extremes. They were quick, they were simple, they were easy. They allowed people to go and, in 1 or 2 hours, go fight a really tough fight and call it a day. And for a lot of people, that was a really fun way to play. That's the way a lot of people play MMOs. And while, there is an option for, more complex and more narrative storytelling that I think is really important. Sometimes you just want your mega game to give people a very quick, easy, low barrier to play, low barrier to GM option. And I think Wilderfeast does this the best. It's also a very procedural game. And yeah, that might bore some people, but the fact of the matter is one of our biggest problems is burnout. People get really excited until they're not. And then they don't want to do it anymore because it's a lot of work. Wilderfeast, I think, takes that off of the GM's responsibility by making it a very simple, easy to follow play pattern. Now, will that get boring eventually? Maybe, but our games only last now, our games used to last for 9 months. Now people are talking about our games only lasting 3 to 4 months. So I think the getting bored or getting burned out thing is maybe we don't have to worry about that problem as much as more. But anyways, it might be a great game too. I don't know. We'll see. But it is my pick for most mega gameable. All right. Next, best core system design. So this is the best overall integrated core system. This is taking a look at all of the different elements in the game, how well they interact with one another, and how flawless or seamless this is. And again, remember, this is Derek's opinion. Okay. Luis, question from a new subscriber. Welcome, Luis. Are all these RPGs talked about in the past streams? Luis, all of these RPG systems were from games that we covered this year. So this list of games right here, these are all the RPGs that we talked about this year. From Grimwild in January, in 2025, I should say. And these are all books and products that we talked about this year on our different streams. Each of these games had at least one stream dedicated to it. Some of these games had entire months or weeks dedicated to them, like Daggerheart. But all of these games have gotten coverage from on our channel from 2025. All right, so we've got a lot of people voting. Yes, it's RP, right? It's RPG or RPG adjacent. That's a better way to say it, Scott. Right? Like the Tome of Adventure Design. So very good. And again, this is basically looking at the system as a whole. How well do I think the system achieves its stated goal? How elegant it does it? How well the system integrates across from the first page to the last page. And again, I think it's really, really good. Now, Zen Bullet, the whole point here is to meta vote. You are not voting for the one that you would pick. You are voting for the one that you think I am going to pick. that was the stated point. But again, I think all four of these games knocked it out of the park. And you might say, Derek, why is Starfinder on this list? Because it's Pathfinder 2, and I love Pathfinder 2. But I actually think Starfinder I think the Pathfinder 2 rules work better for Starfinder. I really do. I think a lot of the 3-action economy, I think all of that, I think that works better in a sort of, and I know you can actually you can be melee in Starfinder 2, and I know a lot of people are, but I just think the 3-action economy works better from a ranged perspective. But I thought all four of these games integrated well across their entire system. So I think that all four of them deserve their spot. All right, so we got our bunch of votes are in. So the 90 goes to The One Ring 2nd edition. Somebody in chat said it. I don't remember who it was, so I apologize, but they had it exactly right. This is the game that I said, I don't know what I would change about this game. It worked and integrated well from top to bottom. I love Daggerheart. I think it's great, but there's also like 25 things I want to change. Okay. So, some of it's nitpicky and some of it's kind of like, yeah, I think it'd be cool if the players got to make a reaction roll stuff. There's almost nothing I would change about the One Ring. I think the game system works really well, and it works incredibly well for delivering the stories of Tolkien. There is only one thing I don't like, Thaddeus, and that is parry. So I would change parry. You were absolutely right. The other thing I like about the One Ring is how symmetrical the system is. One of the things that bothers me about Daggerheart, right, is like, come on, man. You're using a D12, 12 domains, 12 levels. The thing I like about One Ring is like you have 3 stats: body, mind, and spirit. And we were even kind of like, why is it called that? It's because it's literally taken from Tolkien. And then each of those 3 stats, each of those stats has a skill for interaction. Each of those stats has a skill for movement. Each of those stats has a skill for gaining or gathering information. Each of those skills has each of those stats. So there's this symmetry across the system, which I think is really, really good. The same thing is true with the fatigue system. It's the same thing true with the shadow system. One is your physical endurance and health, and how the weight of your gear and the weight of your fatigue takes away from your endurance. And the same thing's true with your mental. You have your hope, but that is weighed down by the weight of the shadow and the scars in your heart. It's a very, very pleasing aesthetic from a core system perspective. And it uses a flat DC, which I really think is great. I think it's easy to use. But it like in the sense that, the DM's not making a DC, your DC is 14, it's 14, you roll against it. It's very, very pleasing. So the One Ring gets my vote for the best core system design that we covered this year. Now remember, One Ring did not come out this year. It came out a couple years ago, but I didn't really dig into this game until this year. So the One Ring gets the system. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but GM Scott also highlights a really important one. The way that your negative conditions work in this game, in the One Ring, it lowers the floor without lowering the ceiling. In other words, it makes your worse result worse. It doesn't make everything worse, which I think is awesome, because it means that you can penalize people without creating a death spiral, which I think is really, really important. So yeah, I think the One Ring is absolutely incredible. I think all of these games are really, really awesome. And I think the One Ring for me just stood out as well as me basically going, I don't think I would change much of this, any of this. All right. We're getting to the final stretch here. So we have the KOLC Choice Award. This one is just totally based off of my own personal, it's just my vibes. Exactly. It's me feeling like I just love it. I'm just vibing it. So there's no real criteria here. These were games that just really just meant something to me and just stuck with me, and I found myself thinking about a lot, and I thought that was really cool. They are, if you watch our show, these are games that got talked about quite a bit, Hey, Jackal, take some time to smash that like booking, Thanks, Jackal. You sold it from the floor of a hotel room. Don't you even have a stuffy? I do have a stuff. I have several stuffies, Ningasi, for sure. Oh, I clicked on that. KC says didn't even watch our Torchbearer VODs. Wow, KC, I'm shocked. There's a lot of debate here. There's a lot of. Looks like One Ring is pulling ahead. Maybe, can't tell. What is going on there? All right, get your votes in. GM Scott says, I still haven't watched the Torchbearer VODs. This is funny because GM Scott was in the Torchbearer campaign. Elia says it's going to be Torchbearer or the One Ring. All right, get your votes in. We're coming up. We're going to do it. All right, here we go. And the Golden Knight, the Knighty, goes to Torchbearer 2nd Edition. I have a very specific reason for picking this game. I think it's a great game, and I think it's amazing, and I think it's awesome. However, Torchbearer wins for no other reason than I got to play this year. I got to play it with 2 groups of my patrons. I got to play it with a bunch more patrons than I thought I was going to play, because some of the patrons came in, they played for a bit. They said, hey, you know what? Torchbearer, not for me. I'm going to move on. Totally fine. But what was really amazing to me is how many people had a great time playing it, had a great time watching it, had a great time being surprised by how much they enjoyed the game system. I had several of my players basically say, like, some of those scenes, some of those conflicts, some of those encounters were some of the coolest ones I've ever been a part of. It made me reevaluate like what I thought a non-combat encounter could be that was still a conflict, especially social conflict. And of course, it was an amazing opportunity for me to have an old school moment of having 2 different groups, even competing groups, going against each other in the same dungeon. And if you watched both sides of the campaign, you'll know that, one of the groups was a little bit more actively engaged in fucking over the other group. And I thought it was a lot of fun to sometimes see how the actions of one group would cascade and cause problems for, another group. And so for me as a GM, it was just a really cool moment of getting to run something that, quite frankly, I haven't had a lot of experience running. I've never really run that kind of old school game where I have, 25 players and one GM. I've never done that. I've talked about it. I've thought about it, but I've never really done it. So this was my opportunity to do that. And I got to play it with my patrons in our actual play. People had, a lot of nice things to say about the setup that I created for Torchbearer and, the overlay and the inventory management. And so it was just a really fun experience to get to play with Bob and Scott and Dennis. And Thaddeus is here. Tundalus is here, Matt and, everybody, Darth, the whole crew, everybody that was a part of that was just a lot of fun. It was really cool to be a part of that. I don't think Ryan's here, but shout out to Saddok Saddlebelly, who kept the Sunday crew well fed. But it was just a really cool experience. And while I've been following Torchbearer since first edition, I never got a chance to run it. So this was a really cool opportunity for me to get to run a game that I've wanted to run for a long time. So guess what? Derek gets to play games that he's been excited about because of the Night's Last Call as well. And to find a group of people that got to play. So that was really, really fun. So Torchbearer definitely gets my vote for just my pure KOLC choice. And the reason it's really is because for me, it's about the KOLC. It's because I got to play it with members of the KOLC community, which was a lot of fun. All right. Publisher of the Year. By the way, after this, we're going to have our Games of the Year give. So that we're basically in the very, very end now here. So Publisher of the Year. We've got Free League. We've got Need Games. And we've got Darrington Press. Now, I know some of these might, I'm going to talk about why these are all here. Free League, I don't think we really have to get into why Free League's here. Everybody knows that they are just an incredibly, they are just an absolute, one of, if not the best publishers out there in terms of the quality and consistency. Need Games are the folks that make Fab Ultima. And they have been incredibly amazing and awesome. They have delivered, as a small press publisher, they have delivered an incredible signpost product every year. They've run incredible campaigns. Their publisher, or their group, as a publishing group, they are so responsive to their community. It's disturbing. They're not just Emmanuel, but Matteo and Nicola. The whole group is incredible. The Italians are just really kicking ass. And of course, they had an incredible Kickstarter that just, shattered records for them and just really represents just how committed they are to this. They were supposed to come out today, KC, but I think Ema said they just got back from vacation yesterday, so it might be actually an extra day, which is unfortunate, KC, because I got to run Fabula Ultima tomorrow, and I would have loved to have the PDF. Okay, why Darrington is there? They did Candle Obscura and Daggerheart. Well, again, these are slightly biased to me. I got a chance to meet the folks from Darrington Press. They invited me to come to they valued my contributions to this community. Spencer Stark and Rowan Hall are both fans of Night's Last Call, and that means a lot to me. Not because it's like of some ego stroking, because I think it's cool that a publisher like that is interested in hearing what we have to say. And so Darrington Press, just impresses me with their commitment to being, present. Now, again, I'm not trying to poo-poo or shit on anybody, but there are some publishers and creators who don't show up to these things, or they only show up to Gen Con. Maybe they have a booth at every convention, but it's just people working there. You know what I mean? They're not actually the publishers. Darrington Press, and I get it, they had a big game coming out this year. There's no doubt about it. They were at every convention, and I know, because I was at every convention. And I don't just mean they had a booth, okay? I mean, they were there. The actual people who run the show are there, and they're there every time, and they're there, from sun up to sundown. So they really impressed me with their commitment to their games. And let's call it what it is. They stepped the pussy up. They brought in Chris, they brought in Jeremy. You know, they're bringing in Keith Baker. You know, these are not nobodies. So they are trying to take the bull by the horns, and I think that's really cool. Right. And yeah, I mean, they've even built up that community, right? We're just getting started, and people know that. So again, absolutely huge deal. Yeah. Eberron, Keith Baker is working for the DP. Maybe. I don't think it'll be Eberron because I don't think they have the rights to it, but you know, we'll see. Anyways, my point is all three of these publishers get my love and they get my admiration. So I cannot say enough good things about them. Again, the folks from Need Games are incredible. And I've had, also the Roll for Combat booth, which I basically spend all my time at these conventions because I'm working there. It has a history of being like right next to the Need Games booth. So I get a chance that, to hang out with them and talk to them. And they've just been so helpful and supportive and lovely people. And of course, Free League was the first publisher to actually start giving us stuff for free, So they send us their PDFs. So anyways, there's a lot going on here. All three of these publishers are absolutely incredible, but only one can win the coveted Golden Knight. And it is Free League. And while I will say that they are no longer, my hipster ass no longer feels like indie. I agree, Seldon. They are no longer indie. They are a major player. But they are still absolutely my favorite publisher. The quality and the consistency of their products, it just blows me away. When I look at books and I think, what in some future world, what do I imagine I want my book, some, mythological book that I produce? What do I want it to look like? I want it to look like a Free League book. I want it to have that quality, and people who I know who know better than me agree and say the same. People like Stephen Glicker talk about the quality of their publishing. They don't just phone it in. They have their Year Zero engine. They're tweaking it. They make updates to it. Yes, not every game is Year Zero engine, nor do they just jam it into every game without making modifications. They make the changes that they make. Free League is an institution in our KLLC community. Bob absolutely loves them. And games like Dragonbane, Forbidden Lands, Alien, Blade Runner, you name it, Free League is a huge part of our community, and a lot of Free League games get played. You need know nothing else about Free League other than to say Bob spends a lot of money on them. And if Bob is spending a lot of money on a publisher, Bob kickstarted Coriolis Sight Unseen because it was put out by Free League. If that doesn't tell you, if that should be all you need to know. I have no interest in running this game. This is the Lord of the Rings 5th edition version, basically 5e D&D version of the One Ring. Okay. But I own this book, and I have debated picking up the other books just because the books are so beautiful and the cover art is different. They are so committed to not only creating incredible products, but they're committed to creating beautiful products, high quality products. And my first thing I ever kickstarted from them was Forbidden Lands. And I was hiking the trail, ironically, when the backer kit came up. I've told this story before. And I missed it completely. Came back from the trail, had a lot of stuff going on. What am I going to do with my life? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, like over a year later, I see this game for, Forbidden Lands, and I'm reading it. And I go, wow, this sounds awesome. Oh, this sounds awesome. This sounds really cool. And I go, wait a second. Do I own this? And then I looked and went, oh shit, I do own this. I missed the backer kit by almost 2 years, or whatever, like a year and a half. I go, oh, at least I was right. I did like this game enough that I backed it 2 years ago. I contacted Free League, and they said, yeah, absolutely no problem. We'll ship that out to you tomorrow. And like right from the beginning, their just customer service was just incredible. And Beowulf says, I'm playing Tales from the Loop tomorrow night. Free League for the win. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to say that they're like IP fiends, but like I think that they are doing it in a way that feels right. Games like Tales from the Loop or Blade Runner or Walking Dead or Alien aren't just, oh, it's an IP game. No, people are like, no, these games are really good. And I think that Elion's right. It's the consistency. It's really good, but it's also consistently really good. I feel like you can pick up a Free League product almost sight unseen, and you're not going to be disappointed. You know. All right, so those are our sort of subcategories. We'll do a quick refresh. Let me get rid of this poll here real quick. So we have not for me, but great award goes to Nimble. Most surprising goes to Wilderfeast. Most innovative design goes to Trespasser. Best art and graphical design goes to Legend in the Mist. Best character creation and advancement system goes to Beacon. Best layout and most reader-friendly goes to Battle Zoo Eldamon. Best GM support in a extremely close three-way. But one person has to win, and it's Mythic Bastionland. Best setting / lore / world building is Coriolis, the Great Dark. With some honorable mentions that One Ring was removed because it can't win because it was Tolkien, not them. Most mega gameable, Wilderfeast. You are what you eat. The best core system design, The One Ring. The KOLC Choice Award goes to Torchbearer 2nd Edition. And Publisher of the Year goes to Free League. And that brings us to our final 3 categories. And before we go ahead and do those for our Game of the Year's winners, again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for an incredible 2025. Most of you who know that it was an extremely tough year for me. 2024 was an extremely tough year for me. I had a fire. I had in my home. I had anxiety attacks, panic disorder. I went to the emergency room several times. It was a real nightmare, and I didn't think it could get any worse. And then 2025 was worse. However, this community has been a source of strength and a strength of distraction, good way at times. And I just want to say thank you so much to everybody. And as we move now into 2026, where this is now my only job, the support and love and the fellowship that you all have offered to me has been incredible. So I want to say thank you to all of you. So our final Golden Knighties. And yeah, I mean, I disagree with most of you, but you all disagree with me, and that's good. That's a good thing. So thank you so much for all of that and everything that you all do. And let's close this thing out. All right. We got the Golden Knights. So we've got 2 categories here. The first is Indie TTRPG of the Year. So this is from a game that I consider to come from a relatively small or relatively unknown, publishing house. Yes, technically Free League, I guess, is indie, but I don't really consider them indie anymore. So this is the Indie RPG of the Year. And our options are Legend in the Mist, Land of Eam, Wilderfeast, Nimble, Mythic Bastionland, Grimwild, Trespasser, and Tactiquest. I know we didn't talk a lot about Tactiquest, but I actually have to say that for an indie game, it is incredibly well done. And, I should note that Tactiquest, yes, is made by Level 2 Janitor, a patron of the Knights of Last Call. However, I really do legitimately think that the design there is absolutely incredible. So this is a tough list. Yes, Tactiquest also does. They are their Level 2 Janitor is their own artist. It's really a great product. I talked about Trespasser, but I cannot highlight enough. Check out Tactiquest as well on itch.io. It's totally worth your time to check out. Throw them a couple bucks. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. It's not just shilling. I wouldn't talk about a game that I didn't actually like and believe in. And again, we did cover it this year in the game. Yes. So also interestingly, Tactiquest has there's no randomness to the fighting, so it's super tactical because it's just whatever you say happens. None of these games would be on this list if they were bad. They are all really, really good, and they all do, in many cases, some very, very different things. And I think that they are in absolutely incredible. We've covered all these games so far throughout the course of the show, so I'm not going to go too much into them. But I think that we are in a renaissance of indie games. And I think that while I appreciate the Dagger Hearts and the Draw Steels and the Cosmeres, and of course, Paizo and Wizard of the Coast, at the top of the heap, and Chaosium, the advent of Kickstarter, and it has created some incredible opportunities for some truly remarkable game systems. And, you're seeing that. And maybe it's the shakeup from the OGL drama, and you've got a renewed interest in people moving on to different things. But whatever it is, all I know is I'm excited about it, and I think it's really, really cool. All right, so the winner for Indie TTRPG of the year, and yes, it was a close one, as the chat's votes are pretty reflective of where my thought process is. But ultimately, the Golden Knight goes to Mythic Bastionland, with an honorable second place mention to Trespasser. I really do think Trespasser is really impressive. However, I would point out that Trespasser technically is not fully released yet. So maybe Trespasser in its final form will technically be completed. But Mythic Bastionland is an A to Z product. It is simple. It is lightweight and yet deep. It's got great GM advice. It's got great art. It's got incredible production value. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's just absolutely everything that you want out of an indie game. It's weird because Mythic Bastionland is kind of an evolution of Electric Bastionland, but I'm not going to lie. Electric Bastionland was too weird for me. Mythic Bastionland hits that perfect sweet spot. It is a little weird. It's definitely indie. It's not D&D, but it's knights in a mythological world. And it's just enough for me to feel like, yeah, this is a game I want to play. And I appreciate that it's a little weird and different. And I want it to be. It feels like an indie game, but it doesn't look like an indie game. And that's to be said of almost all of these things. I think all of these games' production quality is incredibly high, including Trespasser, whose the psycho author Tundalis laid it out in Microsoft Word. So, but it is fantastic. Also, I think that the gameplay system of Mythic Bastionland is very quick but deep. It's not the most. I'm not trying to say that it's like some super duper complex game. Like Trespasser is a much deeper game, but I think the Mythic Bastionland really gets the point across in a really good way. So again, I think it's just an incredible. I think all of these games are absolutely standout winners, but Mythic Bastionland takes the cake. So with a very notable second place finish to the Silver Knight, if you will, to Trespasser. Again, really impressive work from Tundalis. But all of these games were just really well done. All right, so this is our new TTRPG of the year. So this is specifically a TTRPG that came out this year. All right, this is Draw Steel, Land of Eam, Warhammer, The Old World, Coriolis, Cosmere, Daggerheart, Nimble, and Starfinder 2nd edition. So we got a long list here, but you guys can get your vote in again. We covered all these games except for Warhammer, The Old World. To be quite honest with you, Warhammer, The Old World doesn't win. But I did want to include it here because I have always wanted to play Warhammer role-playing, and the game system was just too grimdark, and I didn't like it. So this is a better version of the game. I like its system a lot. The mechanic, great. Now, is it enough to win any of the other ones? No. But, the other categories. But I wanted to put it here as a nomination because I thought it deserved it, and I do think it's a really cool system, and I really wanted to highlight it. But I think all of these games, have had a massive impact on this game. Grimwild, came out in 2024, I want to say, Kendall, because we covered it in January, so I think it was already out by then. Zen Bullet says, for legal purposes, this is not a bribe. So just absolutely crazy. Helios Spaces, I know it's not going to win, but I love Draw Steel with all my heart. Again, as I said about Draw Steel when I nominated it for, it's great, but it's not for me. I think the game is really done well. And I think there's a lot of people who are really going to enjoy it. And I think it is the successor to 4th edition. And as an unapologetic 4th edition fanboy, I cannot say anything except MCDM, James Introcaso with Matt Colville's guidance and all the other folks there, they got the fucking message, right? They know what they're doing here.
Anonymous tipped $25. Still time to change your mind, buddy. Smile.
I don't know what that bribe was for, but that's that. But thank you, Anonymous. Oh. Okay. Thank you, Tundalus. I really appreciate it. Okay, you're getting used. Oh, right. You decided to switch over from one creator to another. Yeah, anonymous bribes with no direction don't tend to be inclusive. Anyway, all of these games were really incredibly amazing, but I don't think that the chat is far off. Sorry. It is indeed Daggerheart. Daggerheart is my new TTRPG Golden Knight winner of the year. You cannot deny that this game had a massive impact on me, on the channel, on the environment, for all the reasons that I talked about. Now, do I think Daggerheart is the best at what it does? No. But it does all of these things in a very cool, very interesting, very unique way. It got people excited about playing a different type of game than they were used to. It reached across the aisle in a way that, quite frankly, Coriolis is not going to do that. Warhammer: The Old World is not going to do that. Daggerheart is and has the ability to do it. Did it have some stumbling blocks? Absolutely. I still think it's a crazy thing that Critical Role didn't choose it. I know why they didn't do it, all that other stuff, but still. But let's call it what it is. Derek was hyped about and talking about the game from the Critical Role people. I know it's from Darrington Press, but I'm not a Critical Role fan. I'm not a critter, but I think this game is absolutely great, and I think there's so much cool potential here. And I'm hoping, I really do hope, that this is a game that can open people's hearts and minds to the greater world out there. And I do think that there's a lot of people who play D&D, and they are better served by playing this game. And I think that will do really well for them. So my second place, since these are the finals, I will give a second place, a runner-up. My second place goes to Draw Steel. I thought this game was going to be kind of DOA, but the recent Kickstarter has proven that this game has some real chops. I know people were upset about the layout, but I don't think that's what this game is about. I said this on the Roll for Combat stream, and Stephen Glicker agreed with me. This is the future of digital gaming. Draw Steel, Codex, this represents a new direction for the way that role-playing games are going to go. And I think that Draw Steel has legs. I think that the people playing it that this is the game that it's the successor to 4th edition. It's people who want that crunchy game. Yes, it's also got the cool cinematic element, but the full integration with Codex and really, and having the company who makes the game also make the VTT. This was the dream of 4th edition. Some people even say that maybe the reason 4th edition didn't work out well is because they never got their VTT to the table due to some unfortunate, tragic circumstances. So I think that Draw Steel, from a second place runner-up perspective, definitely, kind of owns it. So, yeah, I mean, Kendall, there's a reason they went hard on the covers, so the book can look nice on the shelf while you're playing it on Codex. And, for all the people who say that that's bullshit, I question you. How many Pathfinder 2 books do you have on your shelf, or your 5e books do you have on your shelf that you never use because you play on D&D Beyond, or because you play with Archives of Nethys or Path Builder, or because you play on Foundry? And the answer is a lot. So, so Daggerheart is my winner. I think the team did an incredible job. It's a beautiful game. I love the cards. I know people hate them. I love the cards. I love the vault system. I love the hope and fear system. I love that it solves some of the issues I have with of PBTA. I love that it gets me excited to have crunchy, fun character build options without being, sucked into a massively complex game. It's a fiction first, crunchy tactical game somehow. It emulates tacticalness in a way. It's just incredible. This is on the list because it's big, but I'm going to be honest with you. This was kind of a big miss for me. It gets the nod because it's in Barnes & Noble. I saw it flying off the shelves. It's got an end cap. Brandon Sanderson is a GOAT. Here's the crazy thing about it. I don't really like the game, and I don't really like Brandon Sanderson's novel styles, but I think Brandon Sanderson is a GOAT, is the current GOAT. So, I mean, I give Cosmere a lot of respect for that. We'll see what Brotherwise does, but yeah. Absolutely. So Cinema says Nimble making it up there with all these huge games is huge. I think Nimble is really well done. And I think, honestly, maybe out of all these games, I think Nimble should have the greatest chance of converting the 5e folks as well. That's fine. I can see that. The art is very modern. It's a very modern art style. So congrats to Daggerheart. It's a really incredible game. They did an amazing job. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Spencer. Shout out to Leith. Shout out to all the folks over there at Darrington Press who have, again, I've had the opportunity to get to know and meet, and it's been really, really cool. So the reason why that's kind of a moot point, Commander Snookums, is because when I run a game like Daggerheart, because it's a fiction first game, that means that it's kind of impossible for me to, quote unquote, run it bad. Because I'm just going to run it the way that I run it, which is to say I'm going to run it the way I run most fiction first / PBTA games. And it's basically impossible for those games to fail for me. So I will admit, again, there's a reason Daggerheart won Game of the Year for new Game of the Year, but it didn't win any of the other categories. I think there are flaws in its approach. I think the way that it handles spotlighting is wrong. I think the way that it handles reaction rolls isn't great. There's a lot of things about the game that I would tweak and fix. But I do think that as a holistic product, it delivers again and again and again. And it definitely, I think, set the tone for the year in terms of the release for the year. All right. So that brings us to the game of the year. And they are Daggerheart, Legend in the Mist, Mythic Bastionland, The One Ring, and Fabula Ultima. These are all the games that I either have talked about, want to play, am playing. I'm either currently playing it. I'm scheduling to play it. I've talked about playing it. I'm starting to run a demo. Legend of the Mist is probably the game that I haven't talked about the most, but this is the game that also I think is I don't think people appreciate it when I say this is my new fate. So again, all of these games are absolutely incredible. They are amazing products. They are end-to-end inclusive of everything that we do here at Knights of the Last Call. And I'm going to put up the vote. And again, remember, this is not a vote. Derek has already chosen. This is just an opportunity for you all at home to kind of throw in what you thought was your favorite. So let me get this up here. Game of the year. We've got Daggerheart. We've got Legend in the Mist. We've got Mythic Bastionland. We've got The One Ring, and we have Fabula Ultima. All right, folks. Game of the year. So, again, we've kind of discussed. No. I have picked. I mean, you can vote for whatever you want. It's totally non-binding. You technically you are voting what you think Derek is going to vote for because I have already chosen. This was a tough choice because there's a lot of reasons why I would pick any or all of these. I don't think any vote here is wrong. So I'll just say that. So I'll let you guys get your votes in, but this is our final category of the year. This is my overall of the 42 games or products that we deep dove or did a first look. Basically, you and I, we spent 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 hours together over the course of 2025 talking about and looking and thinking about these games and books together, either on, and then that's not counting the countless conversations that we also had on our Knights of Last Call Patreon Discord, which if you are being like, wow, the depth of this conversation, the level of engagement here is absolutely incredible. I really encourage you to come check us out. There's a link below, patreon.com/nightsoflastcall. We have our own private Discord that is only available to our patrons. We have a little bit of a walled garden. And you know what? I think that's for the better. We have a very, very active, mature community who likes thinking about games, playing games, talking about games. And I think that, I went back and forth when I originally made my channel about, do I want to paywall my Discord? And I'm very glad that I did, because having a couple people, just having to chip in a couple bucks makes you have some skin in the game. And it has kept our Discord incredibly, amazingly troll free. I've been in other RPG spaces, and I think it's hands down the best RPG community on the internet. And I'm not being biased when I say that. So I'd love it if you came and support us and maybe get a chance to play some of these games or run some of these games. I think it'll be really awesome. All right. Mateo says it's wildly more active than a ton of TTRPG Discords I've been in compared to the size of the community. And there's a lot to be said here, but yes, we are only 500 plus people, but it is active 24/7. And, again, you might give a shit about me, and that's totally fine. I'm not some important person, but unlike a lot of content creators, I spend upwards of 30 to 40 hours a week, every week on my Discord. I will be talking. I will be joining conversations. Unless it's about anime, I stay out of there, or video games, because I don't really have a whole lot to say. But other than that, I will be in the conversations because it's my community and I'm a member of it as much as I am, quote unquote, in charge of it. I'm there because I like talking to you and I want to be part of the conversations. When I am off my Discord, I'm like, oh man, what cool conversations did I miss? I learn from those people as much as they learn from me. So it's a very much a community. And I think that's a great way to put it. You showed up for my opinion, you stayed for the community, and that I couldn't think of anything better. In fact, the best thing I could ever hear someone say is, oh, I really like Derek and I wanted to support him. So I did. And then I discovered Derek sucks, but his community is great. And I stayed for that. And I'm like, yes, that's fantastic. So, Solid Kid says, Legend of the Mist is my number one, Myth of Bastion my number two. I keep reading through Legend of the Mist. It's so good. And it really is good. There's also a lot of, you can go deeper in that game. Like there's like a simple version and a deep version. All right. It's time to give away our Golden Knight for Game of the Year.
Horizon Thunder Sphere!
All right. It is The One Ring. I cannot help but be biased here, but this game, I think, is a masterpiece. It does everything that I want a game to do. It has an incredible lore, obviously. It is a beautiful system. It is incredibly beautiful art. Free League has created not just one book, but a series of gorgeous books, up to and including this book, which may be one of the most, my favorite RPG books I've ever owned in my life. It's not just one book, it's a system. Free League has competed for now Cynical Dragon is correct. There's a question about the licenses going forward. But even if we never got another big book, I would be very happy with where the One Ring is. It's an incredible system. The art, everything about it is beautiful. But Michael says, I showed it to tell Derek to shove his opinion. I stayed to do it again and again and again. Thank you, Michael T. I really appreciate it. It has all the beautiful trappings of Free League, everything that you would want out of this book. But I'm not going to lie. It is also beautiful Tolkien. And I am a Tolkien nerd. I love The Lord of the Rings. I love The Silmarillion. I love The Hobbit. It is what got me into fantasy, The Hobbit. And I think this does a beautiful job of expressing that in a way that is vivid and real. And I think it creates some really incredible depth. The subsystems of conflict, journey, and council are some of the best I've ever seen. But also, Mephi, Thank you for the 10 euros. Says, yes, Tor, my beloved. I have to say, the One Ring was our first stream we did in our new studio. I am so excited because of the One Ring to be doing a solo game that I'm going to be playing with chat. It's a game that I am legitimately excited about. And I understand that this type of game isn't for everybody. Forget the mechanics. I know some people feel really weird about playing in such an established IP. I get that. I know that some people feel really weird about like, oh, I'm going to get called out because I'm not a super Tolkien deep lore nerd. I get that. I get all those concerns. I get all of that. I 100% all of that. But none of that shit matters to me. And I think this game just knocks it out of the park 100%. And since I'm going to be playing with myself, I don't even have to worry about people feeling like they don't know enough to play. That being said, I think the One Ring is more about feelings than knowledge. And I think that the One Ring does a great job of that, of making you feel the weariness and the struggle against the darkness and against the evil. And when a game can deliver on those premises, I think that is an incredible experience. There's also things about this game that I think work really well in terms of creating a sense of not just scale of, like spatial, but also temporal. Most of our RPGs these days feel like they're over and done with. One of the reasons I love Pendragon is because the game encourages this, not just years, but decades long play. And the One Ring is very similar in that regard, where you have these established cycles of play where you go and, you might only do 2 or 3 adventures in a year. And then you take off 6 months in the game world and you go home and visit with your people. It just does everything so well. And it's such a beautiful package. I love the combat system. I love the council system. I love the journey system. I love the skill system. I love the advancement system. There's almost nothing I don't like about this system except for the parry system because it messes with the static DCs. Everything feels tied into the source material, and that is just a win, 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 win for me. It is my Golden Knight game of the year. However, if I had to give a second place, I would probably give second place to Fabula Ultima. I think Fabula Ultima is a gorgeous and beautiful game. There's a reason that this is the game. There is a reason that this is the game that me and my friends, my beloved group of personal friends, are playing on Friday nights. I think Fabula Ultima is a love letter to JRPGs in a way that is visceral and real. I think the principles of the narrative and gamist components of the game speak to my heart in a very real way, in much the same way as Daggerheart is. And I think Fabula Ultima is made by beautiful people who put out beautiful books. So Fabula Ultima would definitely be my follow-up, my runner-up to my game of the year. But my game of the year is the One Ring from Free League Publishing. So our indie TTRPG of the year is Mythic Bastionland. Our new TTRPG of the year is Daggerheart. And our game of the year is The One Ring. Bring to the front. There we go. The One Ring. The one game to rule them all. So, it is incredible. And I'm extremely happy with this. There you go, Boothby.
Boothby tipped $10. Great and fun stream. And it has saved me having to watch 40 first looks.
There you go. Now you don't have to watch the first looks. Just wait till the end of the year. Derek will do the review and then go back and watch the winners. Thank you very much, Boothby. I really appreciate you being a part of this. And of course, not everybody loves first looks. That's okay. But hey, look, sometimes it's important for us to take a look at our games and see which ones we like. What an incredible year. What an incredible list of games that we took a look at. And what an incredible way to spend time with all of you learning and reading and playing these games, which I think is really great. And again, it's great to look at these games, but I'm even happier when they get to be played. So, the fact that I've had the guys over to the studio to do the starter box of the One Ring, that I'm going to be doing that with the chat through the Moria, the quest to recover Moria, the crusade to recover Moria with the chat and playing the solo game and the group friend that I'm kicking off a Fabula Ultima game, that we're reigniting the discussions about getting a Daggerheart actual play started. All of these things make me super excited, to say nothing of all the games that are being played by the community members of the Knights of the Last Call. Things like Pathfinder 2 mega game, Dragonbane mega game. Will there be a Beacon mega game or a Lancer mega game? Possibly. Will there be a Wilderfeast mega game? I hope so. So I think just, playing games, it's one thing to read. It's one thing to read games. It's another thing to play them with people that you respect and love. So I really, really appreciate that. We need to get the Moria out of the talking stage. I'm not sure why but that is me super curious. Yeah, I mean, I never was going to kick it off until we got into the new year Cinnabos, so it's quote unquote on schedule. I said I didn't want to run it until I GM'd it a little bit, and I knew I was going to be doing the starter sets with the guys. So yeah, that is that's the 90s.
Jackal Torn Moons tipped $5. Because of CoLC, I've played PF2E, Fabula Ultima, Hackmaster, Daggerheart, Drawsteel, Lancer, Dragonbane, and more. Join the Patreon.
Jackal Torn Moons, thank you so much for that. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Jackal. It's just, the ability for us to play just a tremendous amount of games and be exposed to that. And I think it's really, really, really incredible. So it's a blessing. And of course, thank you to people like you, Jackal, who run these games, not just play them. I mean, if anything, Knights of the Last Call has a problem where we have too many game masters. We have too many people who want to run games. We need more people who want to play them. We had a super chat come in from our friend, the Self-Confessed Cynics. Nothing against Daggerheart, but I'm happy the One Ring won. Ooh, all right. Yeah, again, Daggerheart, I think, deserves its new TTRPG title, but ultimately, I am happier with the One Ring as a holistic game. Thank you, Anonymous.
Anonymous tipped $5. This was great, Derek. I hope you keep up this tradition in years to come. Thanks for broadening all our horizons.
I'll just assume all anonymous tips are from Tundalus now in the future. Thank you, Tundalus. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for supporting us. Again, a lot of these games can be found on DriveThruRPG. We do have a link in a description below that'll take you over to our affiliate link from DriveThruRPG. You can also find it on our Patreon if you're a member, up in the KOLC FAQ. But if you do that, it doesn't cost you any extra money, but we get a couple percentage points back. Some of these games, like Trespasser and TactiQuest, they are not on DriveThruRPG, but you can find them on itch.io. So you can take a look and search for Trespasser or TactiQuest. And if you do, it's pay what you want, I think, for both of them. So make sure to drop them a couple of bucks. And then there's a couple of games that, aren't on DriveThruRPG and you have to buy them directly from their site, like Drawsteel or whatever. So you'll have to actually go out of your way to find those games. And I can't get any kickback from that. So unfortunately, but if you want to support us that way, I'd appreciate it. Jackal says, if you want to play Drawsteel, hit me up. We'll get you a Codex code. Fantastic. Give me first looks or give me death. A Delta Green RPG first look win. Well, Luis, our patrons can support first looks with their tickets. We do have our current queue, and we're going to be doing a first look this Sunday. We are going to be looking at another indie RPG. We're going to be looking at Heroic Deeds, which was added by Shoeflix. We're going to be looking at Heroic Deeds. Then we're going to be looking at Dolmenwood, which was sponsored by Koss. Shout out to Koss.
Jason B tipped $1. Where was PF2 remastered?
We got a couple tips and super chats I'll get to here in a second, but that's an old school deep cut. Jason B. Where was PF2 remastered? Well, PF2 remastered didn't come out this year. It came out last year. So, we've got Heroic Deeds, Dolmenwood. This is the order, by the way. Wicked Ones, Die, the RPG, His Majesty the Worm, Thither Ruins of the Dimlit Downlands, Middle Earth role-playing game, Vagabond, Burning Wheel, Uncharted Worlds, The Dark Crystal, technically Battlecry from PF2, Warhammer, The Old World GM Guide, Triangle Agency, Dungeon World 2, Mutants and Masterminds 4th Edition, Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition, Legend of the Five Rings, Children of the Five Wings Sourcebook, Ripped Crypt, and Genesis. That is our current first look queue. So we got to make our way through that. And of course, the powers that be, the patrons keep adding stuff there all the time. So thank you, Jason B. Pathfinder 2, unfortunately, does not make the cut, I'm afraid to say. Commander, Snookums, totally off topic. What would you say are the top 5 games with approach-based systems, like Legend of the Five negotiations and skills system? Well, the approach-based system of Legend of the Five Rings goes beyond just negotiations. You use that for everything, including combat and everything like that, where instead of attributes, you use approaches. Well, it's surprisingly not as common as you would think. I mean, Fate Accelerated Edition is the game that I think of the most common, that really, sticks out to me. Wilder Feast, which we just covered, also uses an approach-based system. Obviously, Legend of the Five Rings does as well. There's not too many, honestly. Not as many as you think. So I think it's an underused space. So I don't know. I mean, quite frankly, part of the reason is because it's very anti-simulationist in certain ways. Like, people want their attributes to be like they think of them in the way like height and weight and hair color and eye color, and they want to be able to like describe their character with numbers. And approaches don't necessarily do that. An approach doesn't tell you how strong your character is or how quick your character is. And I think people have a problem with that. So that's why.
Tundler's in a trench. Tipped $5. It's not a Trugity until Tor goes into a funnel against Trespasser and Mythic Bastionland.
Tundless in a trench coat just tipped $5. It's not a true game of the year until Mythic Bastionland, Trespasser, and the One Ring battle it out for supremacy. Yeah, I mean, I figured that wasn't you. I mean, I stick by what I said. I mean, the One Ring, I think, is just an absolutely incredible, just an absolutely incredible game. So, if the One Ring, Trespasser, and I don't want to, again, with Trespasser, I haven't played Trespasser, so I'm hesitant to just, make dire pronouncements like that against that game. But if I had to, I would say, Trespasser. I would say, the One Ring, comes out the victor, and the other two don't make it through the funnel, I guess. But I don't like funnels, so that's fine. I agree with you that direct simulation is the death of fun. Grounded abstraction is a better way to sim. I mean, I'll tell you this: next year we'll have the Burning Empires, or the Broken Empires. I always want to call it the Burning Empires. We'll have Broken Empires on this list, so we'll definitely have some simulationism to compete with next year. This year was the year of gamist narrativist games. Let's see. I mean, a lot of these games are brand new, so I haven't played them as much. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, I'll count Shadow of the Demon Lord as Shadow of the Weird Wizard. So 15, 16, because it's second edition, 17, 18, 19, technically 20, 20 of the 42 that I would say I would played, Right. It's Broken Empires and Burning Empires. It's very confusing. So what is a second look? We talked about this at the beginning. Basically what I said, Vin, is, when we do a first look, it's not a review. I haven't had an opportunity to play the game. However, in some cases, these games, I will eventually go on and get a chance to play them. But also, more importantly, we've had patrons who have had the opportunity. They were inspired by the first look. They picked up the game. They've been running games. So the idea of a second look is we get some games that people on the Patreon have been playing and have experience with, and we get them back on to sort of actually do a proper review, if you will. And talk about their experiences playing with the game and how does that align with what we originally thought or what they originally thought. Would they play the game again? And, basically kind of an interview with people who have been playing the game and spending a lot of time with it. Like, for example, if we've had people who have been playing Trespasser, so maybe it'd be great to get some, people back on. I mean, Tundalus is great, but Tundalus wrote the game, but we have people who've been playing Trespasser. Let's hear from them and see what they say, and things like that. Same thing with like Nimble or Beacon or Coriolis or the One Ring and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I played first edition Kidrissa. I had some gripes about it, but my understanding is second edition kind of cleaned it up and is even better. So there you go. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, they'll still probably be 2, 3, 4 hours long, and it'll be a live stream. So yeah. There you go. That's the spirit. But yeah, so again, just real quick before I go back to the main screen. So not for me, but great. Nimble. Most surprising, Wilderfeast. Most innovative, Trespasser. Best art and graphical design, Legend in the Mist. Best character creation and advancement, Beacon. Best layout / most reader friendly, Battle Zoo Eldamon. Best GM support. I cannot stress this enough. You should get all 3 of these books, but Mythic Bastionland 1. Best setting, lore, world building book, Coriolis, The Great Dark. Most mega gameable, Wilderfeast. Best core system design, The One Ring. The KOLC Choice Award goes to Torchbearer, 2nd edition. Publisher of the year is Free League. And our indie TTRPG of the year, Mythic Bastionland. Our new TTRPG of the year was Daggerheart. And our game of the year was The One Ring, to rule them all. So that was our 90s. Thank you, everybody, for putting up your nominations and talking about it on the Discord. Obviously I had my thoughts, but it was really cool to get some of other people's thoughts and feelings and vibes as well. So thank you to the incredible amount of support. Wow, I gotta have more award ceremonies for everybody who came out today and threw down some hard-earned cash. I know it's tough out there. Again, I just want to say that I know things, at least here in America, things are looking pretty rough and tough and bad right now, but I still fundamentally, I may not believe as much in America, but I believe in people. And I think that at the end of the day, I think we will all get through this together. And I think that playing games is still a worthy task, because it increases community and it increases togetherness. And I think that's going to be more important now than ever as we enter into 2026 and these times that try men's souls, as they say. But thank you to the laundry list of people who supported us. Tundalus in a Trenchcoat, Jason B, Commander Snookums, Tundalus as anonymous several times, Self-Confessed Cynic, Boothby, Mephi, Michael T, Zen Bullet, Edward with a very gracious $100 tip. Thank you so much for that. We had gifted subs from Fooster. Commander Snookums actually got us for several super chats. Thank you, Commander Snookums. Bardic Hospitality for the Prime subs, Silicon for the Prime sub. Again, if you want to support us on Twitch, we're over on Twitch as well, and you can do that for free if you are a member of Amazon Prime. Tundalus started us off with a $50 tip before becoming anonymous. Tundalus. Aaron, for appreciating our chain streams and looking forward to seeing us at Origins this year. Thank you, Aaron. Scotty F, super chat extraordinaire, crushed us out with a $100 super chat. Thank you, Scotty F. Junderlin Games, Cynic Gaming, Enrique for 8 months of Prime subs. Thaddeus, nothing to say, just money. Thank you, Thaddeus. Clobster Roll started us with a $100 tip and really appreciated the amount of games that they've had the opportunity to get exposed to and play as a result of that. So thank you to Clobster Roll. So thank you to an incredible list of people who supported us tonight. And look at that. Game of the Year streams are hype. That's why I'm suggesting it, thus further proving that Vin is always right. That's right. Thank you, Vin. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Also, by the way, you can see we got our orange background for the 90s, but of course we can go blue, old school. Then we go another blue. We can go all over the place here. There's our fire, the nice, and of course we could also go cop car. There we go. Woo! I've got it hooked up now to the app, so we can use it now. Well, I appreciate you, Commander Snookums. Thank you for the support. Wouldn't be able to do that without without you. These awards are criminal. Let's see if this one's even. This one's do the party one for the. Oh yeah, we got. Do I have a party one? Party lights. Here we go. All right, there we go. I felt like Donald Trump there for a minute. Thank you for the prime sub, Thermopunk. Appreciate you. Oh, they need to be flashing? I don't know. I don't know if we have flashing. This is fireworks. I don't know. Nobody knows. Oh, multi. There we go. Hit us with that sweet, sweet rain check. Do I have it here? Dr. D Hart says Derek for Prez. Anybody for Prez, Dr. D Hart, please. So very, very cool. But yeah, again, I think it was a really, really cool and exciting situation. Any games that didn't get nominated for anything that you'd want to mention? No, because if there was games that I wanted to call out, I mean, every game that we covered, I want to reiterate this. Every game that we covered, we talked about because it meant something to somebody, and I think that alone is a reason enough to have included it. So, but let me see here. Let's see. I mean, I was impressed with a lot of the Mech Warrior games that we talked about. That is very true. So I agree with that. I know that people think Wilderfeast is a meme, but I actually think the game is actually pretty good. Let me take a look at the other. Supplemental category, best trend. Best trend. The Gobble Dice game showing up proves it was exhaustive. That's a good way to put it. Supplemental category, best trend. Well, that's not really a game. That's not like a thing. The best trend. All right. The best trend, Vin, is no attack rolls. That's the best trend. No attack rolls and armor as damage reduction. Those are two trends that I am in for. I'm over it. I'm over attack rolls, kind of. I mean, I like the One Ring. Don't get me wrong, but I'm over attack rolls. Fabula Ultima, great game, love it. I'm so excited to be playing it. We're about to play our 4th session here tomorrow. Wish it didn't have attack rolls. So, just saying. Dr. D Hart got Mech Warrior Destiny in the White Elephant gift game exchange. Fantastic. Gobble was amazing. Hey, what's up, Nimble? What's up, Evan? Playing catch up. Woo, great, but not for you. Thanks, Derek. Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I think it's a fantastic game, and I was really impressed with everything that you did there. And for me, it's certainly a game that says, hey, do you want to play, like you say, rules tight, not rules light, 5th edition? And I think it's really great for that. That's not really a demographic for me, but I think it is a really, really great game. 13th Age 2nd edition is an improvement to 13th Age, I think. Full stop. But, I like for 2nd editions to shake it up, do something different. Tundalus then shits on mech RPGs. Fantastics. Isn't that just Draw, Steal, and Nimble? Yeah. I mean, there might be some other games. Tactiquest doesn't have an attack roll. There's that. GM metacurrencies have been around for a while, but is it a trend? No, because I mean, like Fate has been around forever. 2D20 has been around forever. I don't necessarily think it's a thing. Tor isn't strictly an attack roll, but it is. I mean, it's just a skill check. Hey, what's up, Ellen? Or Elaine. First time I got the chance of watching live. Cool. Thanks, Ray, for the show. I love the lengthy explanation of the games I know nothing about. Well, remember, if any of these games, this is to Alan, as well as everybody else. If you thought one of these games sounded interesting, whether it won or not, I cannot reiterate this enough. Every single one of these games got a full 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 hour of coverage on our channel. Every one of these games has at least one video, if not multiple videos on our channel just from this year. So if you really want to learn more about Panic at the Dojo, you can go watch our Panic at the Dojo stream. It's, 3-4 hours of us just talking about Panic at the Dojo. If you really want to learn more about Beacon or Trespasser is an example of where we have 2 streams with the creator, nonetheless, talking about the game. So yeah, definitely come check out our backlog. Again, we don't do videos, we do live streams. So you might go to our channel and you might want to make sure you click on the live tab because YouTube likes to fuck us over. Yeah. That's, I can't believe I forgot. Yeah, Mythic Bastionland doesn't have attack rolls. Of course not. It's Into the Odd. Yes, of course. And of course, all the games that are derived from Into the Odd as well. Well, Cinnabos, let me rephrase it. You can't miss. That's what I should say. Go learn about the gobble dice. The gobble dice are great. Go check out our rain stream and learn about the power of the gobble. Yeah. But so that's a trend I like. I do think we're seeing more narrative mechanics. I think the trend is away from simulationism in general. Obviously, Broken Empires is coming out, but I do think in general, we have made. We did not. Shadow Dark was last year, and or not last year. It was 2024, and the only thing we really did with Shadow Dark this year, Kyle, is we talked about Shadow Deep and my dungeon, but we never talked about Shadow Dark mechanics because Project Shadow Deep was kind of system agnostic, and we didn't really get into it. So most of what we talked about in Shadow Deep had nothing to do with that. Secret/smuggled in PVTA is a trend, much to your chagrin. Look, it's not my fault if people recognize the superior game flow. Okay. Oh, that sounds pretty sick. Finish my Dragonbane mini campaign. Fantastic. Are you doing the Dragon Emperor campaign, or is it something that you're running like your own thing, or are you doing Dragon Emperor? And then I'm going to start a Mythic Bastionland. Fantastic. Followed by Fabulous Ultima. Fantastic. Yes, it'll probably be great, but not for me. I kickstarted it, Kendall. I kickstarted it, but it'll probably be great, but not for me. Broken Empires, Warhammer Old World, absolutely. And Deathbringer, of course, Deathbringer's coming out. Deathbringer could also be potentially a great, but not for me. But I don't think that style of OSR game is my bag so much, We had a super chat from Big Die Energy. Do you have an upcoming game in 2026 that I'm super excited about? No, I don't actually. I am reasonably excited. Super excited? No. Am I reasonably excited about Sword World? Yes, because I have a deep and abiding love of Record of Lodoss War, and Record of Lodoss War was originally derived from light novels of someone who played in a Sword World campaign, and so it'd be cool to see how that game does it. And the game's old as shit, but it's finally getting an official English translation. What do they call it? Localization or whatever. Other new games that I'm really excited about. Yeah, nothing really comes to mind. I mean, there's probably Kickstarters that I backed that I don't know, but I mean, like Fabula Ultima, Bestiary, but that's not like a new game. But yeah, my wallet is breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief for sure. It does seem a little bit sparse. It did seem like everything hit all at once. I do think it had a lot to do with the OGL from that, especially. Okay. Oh, okay. So the 2.5 came out in 2018. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, Broken Empires, if it's good, I have reason to expect it will be. They won't have a lot of competition. If people want a sim light game, because here's the thing, even Trevor understands that Nobody wants a deeply simulationist game anymore. I fully believe that. We just don't have the time for it. So even he is saying, I'm going to make it sim light, you know? That's my thought. I could be wrong, but we'll see. But yeah, no, I don't really have anything that's just like, you know, honestly, there's so many stuff that came out this year that I want to play, that I need to play, that, yeah. Tundla says, merging attack rolls and damage rolls was a fad. Soon things will be back to normal. Yeah, I have very little interest in that. I mean, I'm sure we'll look at it, but there's not much going on there that does anything for me. Again, that doesn't mean it's bad. Hell, I haven't even looked at the game. Everything I've heard about the game is not, you know, not my thing here. Yeah, I mean, maybe Sim Light will be light enough that I will be happy for it. And also the blackjack system that they took from Delta Green or whatever. I mean, that sounds cool. I think that sounds interesting. So, yeah, I mean, we all seem to be kind of agreeing from that perspective. And I think Trevor is a smart guy. And as Trevor said, when, you know, on his channel, when he talked about meeting me at Gen Con, he says, Derek might be the only person I know who's played and knows more games than me. And I was like, oh, that's a very nice compliment coming from Trevor. But he like me, has played a lot of games, so he knows what he's talking about, you know? Again, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, hex crawls, you know, we got Dolmenwood, we've got Land of Eam, we've got Western Reaches coming out from Kelsey from Arcane Library. So yeah, maybe 2026 will be the year of the hex crawl. Maybe we're moving away. Maybe we're gonna, you know, we're developing these new areas. Maybe the Forge was right. Maybe maybe a person can only be gamist and only be narrativist and only be simulationist. Maybe they were right the whole time. I don't know if I'm a breath of fresh air for designers at cons, Kendall. I could just be a tremendous pain in the ass. Yeah, I really liked Warhammer: The Old World. Like I said, I literally put it on that. I put it in the nomination for new TTRPG of the year, even though it wasn't going to win, but I put it on there because I just thought it deserved some praise heaped on its name because I thought it was so cool. Hey, what's up, Adam? Well, when there is some semblance of Foundry support, I will be running Pico in the KLLC Discord every hour on the hour. Well, hell yeah, that's amazing. I will help people and support people as much as possible to run games on the Discord as much as possible. And I will also say, Felix Isaacs, I mean, it didn't come out this year, but last year or 2 years ago, whatever. I mean, Wild Sea is a game that I think is gorgeous, beautiful, and deserves to have praises heaped upon it in all factors. And it's a really, really beautiful game. So, you know, while I'm not super up to date with Pico, I do know that it's being made from MythWorks. So Pico is a game where you play as it's like a Bug's Life or Ants, the role-playing game. So it's like Mouse Guard, but you're bugs instead of mice. Is my understanding. I have no idea what the mechanics are, but I know it's about, you know, it's like a Bug's Life or the Bee Movie or whatever, but like Mouse Guard. Yeah, there you go. Nightly bugs. The Bug Watch. Yes, exactly. So, any case, it'll be exciting. I mean, it's cool. I mean, again, we'll see. I think, you know, I will say to all of my viewers here, you know, we have to make sure that we keep the gates well kept. Okay. What, Derek? I thought you said community is important. It is. I just don't want to see our indie games get gentrified by a mass influx of 5e normies. Okay. There's nothing, people should play different games. They should explore different games, but I just want to make sure that, some of the stuff that Daggerheart's doing with like
Zion
catering to
$55
adventures,
to a new year,
I want to be,
sir.
a
Can't
little
wait
concerned.
to see what you have in store for us. Best of luck with the channel.
Thank you, Zymel. I really appreciate that. As I was about to go off on a gatekeeping rant, I appreciate you. Thank you. I think this will be a good. I think this will be a good year. I'm hoping, Zymel. So appreciate you so much for doing that. Thank you. Long story short, I think it's important that people should play, different games. But what I don't want to, but if you're gonna leave your ecosystem, you need to be willing to embrace the new ecosystem. So, and there's nothing wrong. And no, in fact, that's a good thing, because I do think that there's a problem where certain sub niches of gaming and gaming types are basically like, no, we want to be, unknown, and we want to be not welcoming people to our table. I think games should be, as gamers, as people who are holding the torch of illumination of knowledge, we should be welcoming people to our table. But then when those people come and play at our table, they need to be willing to try different things and learn different ideas. And we can't just, otherwise everything else is just going to like regress to the mean, and the mean is 5e. And Cosmic RPG is kind of one example of this. I believe, it is my understanding, that earlier in the design process, it was a very different game. And I think they made a decision to just 5e-ify it, more or less. Again, I'm not on the design team, and I can't, that is some anecdotal knowledge, but I have heard that, if you're going to do something where it's like, hey, it's 5e, but not, I think that's where, like something like Nimble is a better example of that. I didn't expect this heel turn. I regretfully return my golden nighty.
Kendall tipped $5. Gatekeeping is how you keep quality. Thanks for a great year. Have a great night, Derek and chat.
Thank you, Kendall. Again, I say gatekeeping somewhat tongue-in-cheek. All I'm simply saying is I think the solution isn't to make everything like 5th edition D&D. That's all I'm saying. And I just don't want to see, I don't want to see people, going like, hey, I'm going to play Coriolis, or something. I'm going to play Land of Eam, but, I want to make it like 5th edition D&D. It's like, no, just play the game for what it's like. And there's this desire, I think, to try to cater too much to that audience. If people want to play something else, we should welcome them, and that's great. But if people don't want to play a different game, then they should just stick with the game that they're playing. Is that a better way of putting it? Like, if you want to come in and you're willing to learn, I think this is important. I think the term gatekeeping is loaded. There's a form of gatekeeping that sticks to a vision, and another form that's genuinely vile. Beowulf says, I was in a game of Pendragon where the GM ran it like 5e. It hurt my soul. I mean, the best example I can give to that is gentrification. I think communities are best when they are, vibrant and full of different people. I don't think that, communities should be shunning and forcing people out and saying like, no, this community is only for this type of people. But I also appreciate that for some of those people, that when new people come in, the nature of that community becomes can become diluted, and you can lose some of the elements that make it special. And especially if those people who are coming in do not make any attempt to adapt or understand or appreciate what it is. Now, I do think that evolution is change, and I think that nothing stays constant. I think conservatism is a terrible concept. And I think, growth is change. Change is often unpleasant. So, I get why people don't like it, but I think both groups are wrong, right? I think the people who are exclusionary and the people who say, I want to move in and make no effort to integrate, I think they're wrong too. I think the truth is life is about change. And when we risk, we learn. And when we learn, we grow. And I think that is what you need to do with an RPG. Risk, learn, and grow. Yeah. So Tundalus has a little bit more of a anti-establishment take. Says the solution is to keep existing on the fringe where the interesting stuff happens and then watch the industry collapse at its heart and welcome in the new folks who find their way to our corner. All right, that is an option too. Can't say I completely disagree with that. That's funny. OED says late to the party, but who won? Well, you know what? They won and we won too. OED. Our game of the year was won by The One Ring. But we did have a variety of winners in different categories as well. Alrighty, folks. Well, believe it or not, that was actually a relatively short stream because we didn't actually have to talk about role-playing games, even though we did talk a lot about role-playing games. I hope what this does, though, is it highlights that there's a lot of cool games out there, and most of them may not be for you, but maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them are, and it could be worth it to check them out and play them. And maybe Knights of Last Call is a cool place where you could do that. Or maybe you can meet some other people online, or maybe you can, you got a cool group of people who want to, just, want to get together and hang out. I think that'd be really, really cool. JP says, I made it just in time. Excited to watch this back. Welcome, JP. Appreciate you. Adam Hart says, it's why there is almost no real serious work in philosophy that is based in conservatism as an ideal. Philosophy is about change and reanalyzing ontologies. It transfers down to game design. Yeah. In fact, I think, I think it's important not to throw away the baby with the bathwater. I think that change for change's sake can also be problematic. So I think it's helpful to make strides forward and always be progressing with a mindful heart and mind about, where we came from and where we're going. So we don't lose that sense of community and belonging. And sometimes game design gets that really right. And sometimes it gets it really wrong. And I've talked many times about this channel about how sometimes they may change things in D&D, the history of D&D. They change things and then they leave other existing elements from behind for conservatism's sake, so that the game feels right. And that it's a huge, massive problem. It's like, no, this doesn't work. You should have changed it. Don't just keep things just because it's nostalgic, right? So you have to be, things. To be clear, when I'm talking about conservatism, I'm not necessarily talking about political conservatism with a capital C. I'm talking about conservatism as a general philosophy. Conservatism as a political policy is a whole other enchilada. Yeah. Yeah. Any case, the other thing about game design, which I think is actually good, is unlike the real world, right? In games, if a new game comes out, a new version of a new game comes out, and it's a big change, they've advanced it, right? You can still play your old game, like it's not, that's totally reasonable. Like you can still play first edition. I think Descent, the board game, is on its 3rd edition or 4th edition. I don't like 3rd or 4th edition. I like 1st edition and 2nd edition, and I really like 1st edition. Honestly, I can play it. It's still in my closet. Like I still have all the minis. I still have that game. It's a board game. So that's what's cool about games is they should be pushing the envelope. I think because you don't have to worry about leaving people behind. GM Scott confirming that the new edition is in fact crap of Descent. I believe it. So that's what's cool about games and why I think people should be a little bit more, pushing the envelope, because at the end of the day, you can always just go back and play, other games. You can go back and play your old games. No one's taking it from you, right? Whereas obviously in real life, not game life, if something changes and then it can affect you, because you can't just be like, well, I liked it better when the law was a different way. Well, that's not the way it worked, right? You change the law, you change it for all. Like if the game was such as like, hey, first edition of that game is over, all your books are destroyed, and now you have to play second edition. I can understand people being upset about second edition changing because they're like, no, I liked first edition, but that's not what happens, It's been so long since I've been playing Descent second edition that I repurposed all the tokens for running Daggerheart, which is a brilliant decision because you have the fatigue tokens, which is stress, and then you have the hearts tokens, which is HP. So that is an A+ move for sure. So Obvious says we should check out the if you want to see something cool, look at the variety of systems represented in the tabletop role-playing game category. All right. We have Cyberpunk Red, Gloomhaven, Daggerheart, Tales of Ephira, Pathfinder, Golden Knight Awards. What up? Shout out. Alien RPG, Cyberpunk Red, Legend in the Mist, Dune, Spiral City, Blood and Embers, an Apothecaria game, that's great. It's literally someone drawing an Apothecaria. Star Trek, Alien Evolved, D&D 5e. Someone missed the memo there. It only has one viewer though. Anyways, that's pretty cool. Oh, Zenith is the number one game. Zenith 3000. I don't know what that is, but very cool. Where's my premium VTT module for D&D 3rd edition from WotC? Game is clearly dead, literally unplayable. Now, I will agree, that is why I don't like Demiplane and why I don't like D&D Beyond. I will fully agree with that. So, I mean, people have said good things about Alien and the revision, for sure. Sci-fi, horror in general is just not my things, Anyways, all my way of saying, I think it's really cool that we have all these grand new games. I encourage people to play them. I just ask that you should approach these new games with an open heart and an open mind, and not go in there thinking, how do I turn this into 5th edition D&D? That's all I'm trying to say. Or if you're a publisher or you're a game designer, don't be, I get it. Money's important. That's why we do, a lot of people do what they do, but don't feel like you should compromise your design just to appeal to 5th edition people. Easy for me to say because I'm terrible at business, but yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Whereas if you're a 5th edition person, I encourage you to break down your balls. Even if you're a Pathfinder person, the Pathfinder people are pretty siloed as well. And also don't make the mistake that a lot of people make. I've seen this happen too. People are 5th edition people, and they're in the walled garden of 5th edition. And then they get out of the 5th edition walled garden and they discover a new game. Maybe they discover a new game because of this channel. Maybe they discover a new game from something else. And then they just trade one obsession for a new obsession. And now they're just like, no, Wilderfeast is the best game of all time. All other games suck. What game? Hey, I was thinking about playing a horror one-shot. What system should I use? Oh, you should totally use Wilderfeast. I was thinking about playing a zany game about people who hate hunting and monsters. What game should I use? Oh, you should totally use Wilderfeast. Like, don't trade one obsession and one fandom for another. Like, you did the hard part. You expanded your boundaries. Keep them open, right? That's kind of what I was really getting at with the gatekeeping context. Don't just trade one for the other. So anyways, I know, so Jess Redicop, who, is in our stream sometimes, she was like massively into Neverwinter Nights back in the day. Like she ran like big, huge mega games on Neverwinter Nights. She was like such a mega Neverwinter Nights person. I bet she would. I bet if playing some sort of 3.x premium would be amazing. I agree. It would be awesome. So was I. You know, in that way, I guess you guys are kind of similar in that respect. Tendless is buying all the IPs with Trespasser, Worlds Beyond. Yeah, exactly. There is no one, you know, I get it. Everyone wants the Holy Grail. Everyone wants the magical unicorn system, you know, but the truth of the matter is, instead of looking at a game system and looking at it, what it doesn't do, and then figuring out how you can cobble together and Frankenstein its corpse to do something, just appreciate it for what it does do. You know, like, there's a saying, it's kind of gendered, but there's a saying that says, men marry women thinking that they'll never change, and women marry men hoping they will. You know, there's something to be said about, you know, when you fall in love with the person that you meet, not with some idealistic version that you want it to be or think it could be. And I just see a lot of people who take these games and then the first thing they do is rip them down to their nuts and bolts and start bolting on other aspects because it has to have a background system and it needs to have advantage and disadvantage. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you're free to do whatever you want with, you know, if I sell you a table and then you want to chop it up and use it for firewood, I guess that's your prerogative, but I don't know. Seems like a waste. Oh, absolutely. That's one of the reasons, Kyle, that, you know, I haven't done it because I haven't played Daggerheart. And I don't feel like I have despite my quote unquote experience with all these games, I don't feel like I have the moral authority or the ethical high ground to be able to do that because I haven't had the experience with it. So while I have issues and complaints, I haven't really gone forward with it because I don't feel like I'm in a position of authority to do so. So that's why I haven't done it. I've talked about it. Of course, I have ideas, but I'm not going to do that until I feel like I actually have interacted enough with the system to feel comfortable to make those decisions. Self-confessed cynic says, this is why I'm single. And Elio says, gods, that phrase makes me cringe. I said it was kind of a gendered statement, but you know, it makes me think about, you know, people, how they approach some games. Beowulf says, hacking is how I learn. Yeah. I guess we all learn differently. Tundalus says, hacking is like a force of nature. It's beautiful, like a thunderstorm. Yeah, it also is chaotic, dangerous, and leaves things all fucked up. I mean, look, the truth of the matter is people are much more nuanced than games. And so if you've played a lot of games and you've, you know, been playing for many years and you know your way around a system, you can usually look at a mechanic and know, hey, okay, this mechanic's not going to work. Like, for example, you know, I know part of the reason why I'm eternally single is because every time I date a new person, I add another, you know, 5 to 20 things that I learned I don't like and / can't work with in a person. And so now that list is like 150 things long, you know, the pickings get really slim. So see, there you go. Zip Zap Rap has a very, you know, kind of a hot take. I ran Daggerheart for 8 sessions, and I've come to the conclusion I'd just rather run a PBTA game. Everything it adds makes it worse for me, and I could totally see that happening. I could totally imagine that after 10, 12, 10, 15 sessions running Daggerheart, I might just be like, I feel so constrained by some of these gamist components here. You know, I miss my PBTA. Yes, the saturation limit for me is where you are playing so many games that all you're playing is one shots, and you're just, like it's the person, okay, fine. You're not gonna, you're not gonna marry the first person that you date. Okay, fine. Well, the alternative is you go, okay, well, in that case, I'm only going to have one night stands and I'm never going to settle down. I'm never going to try to build a relationship with anybody. I'm never going to get to know anybody because they might break my heart. Okay, well, that sounds kind of damaged too. So I think, in between, again, everybody's different, but we're making broad generalities here in the name of metaphor. But you should definitely. I think you should you should find games that you're interested in, date them for a while, actually get to know them, and then make a decision if you want to stay with them or move on to the next one. I think a lot of games. I think a lot of people make a mistake of they play a game once in the effort of I want to get as much exposure as I can, but they're never really getting a chance to learn or play that game. The TTRPG version of a pickup artist. Yeah, exactly. So that is going to do it for us. Thank you everybody for hanging out here. I mean, we did talk about being right. We talked about being polygamous, right? A polygamist. Not polygamy, right? But polygamorous. Ethical. What would it be? Ethical non something? I don't know. Yeah. Polygamorous. Yes, exactly. I have my game that I come home to and that I'm building my life with, but there are also games, ethical non 5e. There you go. RPG horror. Well, have a bunch of fights. If you still love them, then get married. You see, this is we're getting into Derek's personal life here, but one of the reasons I'm really bad at relationships is because, like, if I have a fight with somebody, I'm kind of like, and I'm done. I don't really fight. Like, if somebody gets in a fight with me, I don't get in fights with people, but if somebody gets in a fight with me, I'm kind of like, and I'm over it. You want to see me build my PPTA heartbreaker from parts? A PPTA heartbreaker is rough because, like, what is a PPTA heartbreaker? It's like, there we go. Yes, here we are. Well, you know what? Why, Fermi? You know why? Because it all comes down to the same thing, right? It's knowing, what are your must-haves? What are your non-negotiables? What do you need out of a relationship with a person, with a game, in order to feel satisfied? What are you willing to negotiate or compromise on? What are you not willing to negotiate or compromise on? What are your deal breakers? And be willing to stick to your guns for that. And I think that's true for managing your relationship with almost anything, really, honestly. But see, Vincent Baker would tell you that nothing breaks his heart because PBTA is a philosophy, not a system. So, a PBTA heartbreaker is anything with PBTA mechanics smuggled into it. All right, I'll buy that. But are TTRPGs dating the same thing? June says yes, they can both let you down. And you know what? And on that note, we are definitely going to end this thing here. I can't do any better than that. 2028, while accepting an Emmy award. Tundalus, is it true that you used to associate with gatekeeping incel Derek Melinda and once accepted an award from him? Well, okay, there's a couple of things here I want to reiterate here. I am not a incel. I am a vocel. Would that be the right term? I'm not an incel. I'm a vocel. I am voluntarily celibate. There are always lots of people that are somewhat interested in me, generally speaking. I mean, I don't really go outside now and don't talk to anybody, but yeah, I'm voluntarily celibate. Okay, but so sorry, people who came here for RPG content. No, because asexuality implies that I do not have sexual attraction towards any particular gender or sex, or person. But I do. So I am not asexual. Yeah. You know what? You're right. I don't even know where it is. I Okay, now I'll just hold this up, and there we go. Now we're doing this correct. This is all your fault. That would, you know what? You would be a ghost. Of course you would be a ghost. Of course you would be a ghost. They're the most emo edgelord playbook in the entire game. Of course you're that. And you know what? If you want to, you know what? I'll tell you this. If I want to force people away from my channel, it's not with hot takes, and it's not with relationship advice, and it's not with gatekeeping. All I got to do is start talking about Monster Hearts, and that is how you make the views drop. I'll tell you that. It's the best game I've ever played. It's actually true. Granted, I think I preferred first edition. Ooh, that's a great question. All right. By the way, you may answer this and you may not actually appreciate your answer, because I think people are going to answer Monster Hearts, but I'm forcing you to play one of these games like at gunpoint. Which do you pick? All right, resetting the poll. Now, answer very, very carefully. Monster Hearts, Free Market, or Chubos? That's now keep in mind, two of those games I love. Oh, we got our first Chubos vote. I don't think I have, on my new computer here, I don't think I have my voice changer installed. Oh, look at the love for Monster Hearts. Well, Wes, then I guess you get killed. That's the I mean, I guess I could have picked option 4. I'll choose death. Can I bring Free Market to Origins? I should absolutely bring Free Market to Origins. 100%. 100%. Beowulf always cheats and votes twice. It's like, cake or death? Cake, please. Oh, all right, here you go. Cake or death? I'll take cake. Yeah, Monster Hearts only works if, number one, you're not a prude, and number two, if you like just totally lean into like the angst, yeah, for sure. Yes, we Sparks and Shadows from Trespasser won. But I could bring my copy. I could bring one of the only 1,000 copies I think that was ever made of Free Market. I can bring this to actually, you know what? Maybe for Origins. Maybe you know what? Maybe at Origins this year, I will run. I normally don't run games because I'm probably gonna have a lot to do because we're gonna be doing our NightCon session 0. But I could bring. I might bring Free Market and Monster Hearts. And I'll run a Monster Hearts game and I'll run a Free Market game. Can somebody tell me why Monster Hearts is treated like some radioactive waste? Long story short, it's because number one, there's 4 reasons, Nabil, for different people. One reason is because the creator Avery Alder, who is transgender, wrote the game as an allegory for the experience of being queer. And so for some people, who the idea of queer people makes them uncomfortable. I'm not trying to say this is a good reason. I'm just saying, for some people, the woke messaging of the game is a turnoff. So that's one reason that some people don't like it. The second reason is because the game is very sex forward and very sex positive. People actually don't quite fully appreciate this or understand this, but actually sex moves, which is a thing in the game, actually comes from Apocalypse World. So the actual genesis of PBTA is sex moves. But the bakers understand that doesn't sell. So that's why they've created a new version of Apocalypse World, which is called Burned Over, and they got rid of that stuff because anyways. A lot of people are prude and they think sex is dirty and it's a 4-letter word and it makes them uncomfortable. Killing people, murdering them, slitting their throats, drinking their blood, barbaric rituals to kill newborns in order to summon a Cthulian monstrosity that rips people. They're fine, totally fine. Hey, 2 characters that had a fumbling knight in the backseat of a car and had sex. They're like, this is a bridge too far for me. So, okay. Number 1, people don't like, there's a group of people who don't like queer stuff. Number 2, there's a group of people who are uncomfortable around sex. Number 3, the genre is admittedly, YA supernatural fantasy teen romance. And for some people, they're just like, that is the least appealing thing to me ever. I hate Twilight. I hate, Buffy, supernatural, any of that YA supernatural, oh my God, I'm in love with a werewolf type thing. And the 4th reason is it's powered by the apocalypse, and some people hate that. So those are the 4 reasons why people treat it as radioactive waste. Rated from, for me, the least acceptable to the most acceptable. Like if somebody hates it because it's PBTA, that's fine. If you hate it because it's, queer coded, it's like, well, it was nice talking to you. Yeah, Mateo, it's got a deck of cards in there. Look at that. Monster Heart's got 15 votes. Okay. By the way, just so that we're all talking about the same thing here, okay? Just so we're all talking about the same thing here. So one of the playbooks in Monster Hearts is the vampire. You're a vampire. And in this game of Monster Hearts, you get strings. And basically strings are like, like puppet strings. Like, you have leverage over somebody. You kind of blackmail them or whatever, You have emotional leverage on them. The stuff that people do in real life all the time, but more importantly, are part of, all the shows that everybody watches, grew up watching as kids, right? Like Dawson's Creek and the OC and Dirty Little Secrets or whatever it was called. And, all that shit, basically every single game. Okay. Here is the vampire's sex move. When you deny someone sexually, this is their sex move. This is the vampire sex move. When you deny someone sexually, gain a string on them. When you have sex with someone, lose all of the strings that you have on them. That's it. That's their sex move. That's the gritty, dirty, part of the game. I don't know how we're on Monster Hearts, but there we are. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. The last thing I will say about it, Beowulf, is that is a deliberate choice by the author because the author is trying to make a point that you don't get to choose who you're attracted to. That's what the author was trying to point out. And again, as I said, there is an element there of queer codedness to the game. And the point that they were trying to make is we don't get to choose who we are attracted to. It's not a choice, right? And that's why it's not a choice. So, Now, okay, there we go. Nice way to bring it back. As winner of Game of the Year, now, to be clear, in Monster Hearts, the game, you don't have to pursue. Absolutely, Wes. You're 100% right. And that is the same way, 100% the same case in Monster Hearts. It's not like you're charmed into having sex with somebody. It doesn't even remotely work anything like that at all. So, yes. In fact, the game makes a point about that. You know, you don't choose who you're attracted to, but you do choose what actions you take, you know. Okay. But as winner of the Game of the Year, what about the One Ring? And I should also add, one of the reasons why Monster Hearts is probably in some ways my favorite game of all time. I've always considered myself to be very liberal and open-minded, and in complete honesty, playing this game, I think, gave me an interesting perspective that I previously did not have about some of the elements of human sexuality and the nature of queerness. So anyway, Vin says, as winner of Game of the Year, what about the One Ring should other games learn or take forward? Well, I think the one is system is setting. Ben says it all the time. Luke Crane says it. I say it. And I think it's important. I think the type of system, I cannot imagine using the One Ring to basically play anything other than the One Ring. You know, then they're playing Middle Earth or Lord of the Rings. Secondarily, I think just playing Middle Earth in a game that didn't care about the things that Middle Earth is about and cares about would feel vacant and wrong. So system is setting, setting is system. And I think I think that the integration there, I think, is really, really important. Number two, I like a certain amount of symmetry. The medium is a message. We were saying this the other day on Roll for Combat. We said the same thing, Adam. But the other thing is I enjoy the symmetry of the game system, which is that I like that every skill, every stat has a skill that lets you, do something with movement. I like that every skill has something that lets you do something with, diplomacy or interacting with people. I like that every skill has something that does with combat or battle. I like that every skill or every stat has a skill that does something with travel mechanics, you know? So I think that's what's really cool. And then someone said it in chat. I just want to give them credit. Yeah, Cinnabus. I also love that it created a cool system where you can penalize the player without creating a death spiral / also penalizing the ceiling. In other words, you can lower the floor and leave the ceiling alone. I think that's really cool. Is there a place with a good list of TTRPGs? Well, I mean, my channel. I'll say that. I mean, it's a little bit tough. I mean, yeah, you should definitely check out our Discord and stuff like that. Yeah, take a look at our live tab. I mean, I think I tend to cover games. I mean, there are games that we've covered that I've been like, I just want a good list to show my players. Okay, fair enough. No, I don't have like a master list somewhere, unfortunately, Undead Bear, but I appreciate that. There is a Board Game Geek for tabletop. It's called RGG. So you can go to Roleplaying Game Geek. That's a website, Roleplaying Game Geek. You can order it by hotness or something like that, and it'll give you a list of basically every RPG that's ever been printed. But it's called Roleplaying Game Geek. It's made by the people who do Board Game Geek. Also, Beowulf brings up a great point, which is, the game isn't really super concerned about balance. But I mean, again, some people play games. I don't want to make that as a generic advice because some games do care about balance and, they really want you to feel, like special. I will say, I know this is very anti-modern game approach, but kind of related to what Beowulf was saying. Your race matters a lot in the One Ring. And I think that is correct. I think modern games where your ancestry is just a furry suit, I don't like that. But that's a Derekism, So I think ancestry really is a huge part of a character's identity. And again, some of the games that I've really liked, like the One Ring or Torchbearer, where your character's stock, as it's called, is really critical to the game, both mechanically and in the way that you play it. But yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely, Woodland. Mateo, I agree. System, it does a lot of heavy lifting to make your ancestry significant, and especially in Tolkien. And again, it has to fit, right? The system is a setting, but that's just appealing to me. So I don't know if that's a generic thing, but I do appreciate a game that's integrated, top to bottom. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. You know what? You got to have an award ceremony, and we were really good. We were very on topic there. I think you got to give me full credits for that. And then, as we often do, we kind of went off the fucking reservation and got into some weird shit. And people go, what the hell kind of a role-playing game? Somehow we're still talking about RPGs, but what the fuck are we talking about? And that's Knights of the Last Call in a nutshell. So if you enjoyed this and you appreciate this, if you maybe you're new to this, because this maybe has a good chance of getting on your radar list if you came all the way through, check us out, patreon.com/Knights of the Last Call. You can also subscribe to us. Check out our live tab. We don't make many videos. All of our stuff is in live tabs. All of the games we talked about tonight have videos somewhere in our live tab on our channel. So, hey, we only lost 10 people during Monster Hearts. It's great stuff. So, but then thank you again to everybody who donated. Thank you to our incredible patrons and members who support us each and every month. And thank you so much to all of the community members who make this community a home and a community. Without you, there would be no Knights of Last Call. It would just be me and Bob trying to, beg Tim and Smith to occasionally play with us. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Good night, everybody. Peace out.